Get out! Get out of my house! Derek Robinson's fist slammed against the wall as he dragged 6-year-old Maya by her thin arm toward the front door. The little black girl's bare feet scraped against the wooden floor, her fingernails clawing desperately at the doorframe. Daddy, please, Mama just died. Please don't throw me away. I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Her small body hit the concrete steps. Her pink suitcase exploded open. Her Sunday dress, her mother's old cardigan, her hand-sewn teddy bear named Honey scattered across the cold Harlem sidewalk. And standing in the doorway behind Derek, a woman in a tight red dress watched it all with a smile. She smiled like Christmas had come early. She smiled like she had already won. This is the story of how one child's darkest night became her salvation and how a millionaire's promise to a dying woman changed everything. Before we begin, please subscribe to my channel and follow Maya's incredible journey to the very end. Comment below with the city you are watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled around the world. Now let us begin. 3 hours. That was all it took for Maya Johnson's world to collapse completely. 3 hours since they lowered her mother into the ground at Woodlawn Cemetery. 3 hours since Pastor Williams said ashes to ashes, dust to dust. 3 hours since Maya threw a handful of dirt onto her mama's casket and whispered, "I love you, Mama, please don't leave me." But Mama was already gone. And now Daddy Derek was gone too. Not his body. His body was right there in the living room of the brownstone in Harlem, slumped in his leather chair with a bottle of whiskey in his hand. But the man Maya knew, the man who used to carry her on his shoulders and call her princess and read her goodnight moon every single night, that man had vanished the moment Nicole Johnson took her last breath. Daddy. Maya stood in the doorway, still wearing her black funeral dress. Her voice was small, scared. "Are you hungry? I can make you a sandwich. Mama taught me how." Derek didn't look at her. He lifted the bottle to his lips and drank. "Daddy, please talk to me." "Stop calling me that." His voice was a growl, low, dangerous. Maya's heart stuttered. "What?" "I said stop calling me that." Derek finally turned his head. His eyes were red, not from crying, from drinking, from something darker. "I'm not your daddy, Maya. I was never your daddy. Your real father ran off before you were even born. I was just the fool who let your mother convince me to play pretend." The words hit Maya like a slap across the face. "That's not true," she whispered. "Mama said you chose us. She said you loved us. She said, your mama said a lot of things." Derek hurled the bottle across the room. It shattered against the wall glass, exploding everywhere, whiskey dripping down the paint like brown tears. "She said she'd fight. She said she'd beat the cancer. She made me promise to take care of you, and then she left. She left me alone with you, and every time I look at your face, all I see is her." Maya was crying now. She couldn't help it. The tears came hot and fast, streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry I look like Mama. I can't help it. Please don't be mad at me. Please. Get out of my sight. Daddy, get out." Maya ran. She ran up the stairs so fast she tripped twice. She ran into her bedroom and slammed the door. She grabbed Honey the teddy bear from her pillow and hugged him so tight the old stitching started to pop. "Mama," she sobbed into Honey's worn fur. "Mama, I need you. Please come back, please." But Mama didn't answer. Mama would never answer again. Downstairs, Maya heard the front door open. She heard voices. A woman's voice, smooth and sweet like poisoned honey. "Derek, sweetheart, I came as soon as I heard. You poor thing. You shouldn't be alone right now." Maya crept to her door and opened it just a crack. She could see down to the living room from the top of the stairs. Derek was still in his chair. And standing over him, one manicured hand on his shoulder, was a woman Maya barely recognized. Aunt Crystal. Maya knew the name. Mama had mentioned her sister once or twice, always with a deep sigh and a shake of her head. "Crystal and I don't see eye to eye, baby girl. Some family wounds never heal." When Maya asked what happened between them, Mama just smiled sadly and said, "Sometimes people want things they don't deserve. And when they don't get them, they become bitter." Crystal had shown up at the funeral that morning. She wore all black, but her dress was too tight and her heels were too high for a cemetery. She cried pretty tears that somehow never smudged her perfect makeup. She hugged Derek just a little too long. She looked at the brownstone with hungry eyes, the way Maya looked at birthday cake. Now, Crystal was in their house, in Mama's house, acting like she belonged there. "You need someone to take care of you, Derek," Crystal cooed. "Someone to handle all those terrible details, the paperwork, the lawyers, the bank accounts. You just rest. Let me handle everything." Derek grunted something Maya couldn't hear. Crystal smiled. "That's right, baby. Just relax. Crystal's here now. Everything's going to be just fine." She turned toward the stairs, and for one terrible second, her eyes met Maya's through the crack in the door. The smile stayed on Crystal's lips, but her eyes went cold, ice cold, the kind of cold that made Maya's stomach clench with fear. Crystal held one finger to her lips. Shh. Then she turned back to Derek like nothing had happened. Maya closed her door silently. She pushed her small dresser against it, straining with all her strength until it blocked the entrance. Then she climbed into her closet, pulled the door shut, and curled into a ball in the darkness. She didn't sleep that night. She just held Honey and listened to the sounds. Crystal moving through the house like she already owned it. Morning came, but it brought no comfort. Maya woke to the smell of bacon frying. For one confused, beautiful moment, she thought it was Mama in the kitchen. Mama always made bacon on Sunday mornings before church. Then reality crashed back in, and Maya remembered. She pushed the dresser away from her door and crept downstairs. Crystal was at the stove wearing Mama's apron. The yellow one with the sunflowers. The one Mama said was her favorite, because it reminded her of happy things. "Well, good morning, sleepyhead." Crystal's voice was bright, too bright. "I made breakfast. Come sit down." Maya didn't move. "That's my Mama's apron." Crystal looked down at herself and laughed. "Oh, this old thing, I found it hanging by the door. I'm sure your Mama wouldn't mind. She always was so generous." "Take it off." Crystal's smile flickered, just for a second. Then it was back wider than before. "Now, Maya, that's no way to speak to your aunt. I'm here to help your family. The least you can do is be polite." "You're not my family." Maya's small hands clenched into fists. "Mama said you weren't welcome in this house. She said you only come around when you want something." The smile vanished. Crystal crossed the kitchen in 3 quick strides. She grabbed Maya's chin, forcing the little girl to look up at her. "Listen to me, you ungrateful little brat." Crystal's voice was a hiss now, all the sweetness stripped away. "Your Mama is dead. Your daddy can barely stand up straight. And this house, this beautiful brownstone that should have been mine, is now sitting here with no one to take care of it. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to stay. I'm going to help Derek through his grief. And you are going to keep your mouth shut and stay out of my way. Understand?" Maya's chin throbbed where Crystal's fingers dug in. "I asked you a question." Crystal squeezed harder. "Understand?" "Yes," Maya whispered. Crystal released her, and Maya stumbled backward, nearly falling. "Good girl." Crystal smoothed down Mama's apron and turned back to the stove. "Now go wash your hands. Breakfast is almost ready." Maya ran to the bathroom. She locked the door, turned on the water so Crystal couldn't hear, and cried as quietly as she could. In the mirror, she could already see the red marks forming on her chin. The next few days were a nightmare Maya couldn't wake up from. Derek barely moved from his chair. He drank from morning until night, passing out sometime around midnight only to start again when he woke up. He didn't go to work. He didn't shower. He didn't eat unless Crystal put food directly in his hands. And Crystal was everywhere. She answered the door when neighbors came by with condolences. "Yes, we're managing. Thank you so much for the casserole. I'll make sure Derek gets it." She took the phone calls from Mama's job, from the bank, from the life insurance company. "Yes, I'm handling the estate matters. I'm the closest family member available." She sorted through Mama's closet, putting things in boxes. "We need to clear out some of this clutter, Derek. It's not healthy to be surrounded by reminders." Maya watched Crystal slip Mama's wedding ring into her pocket. She watched Crystal take Mama's pearl earrings, the ones Grandma had given her. She watched Crystal study Mama's jewelry box with greedy eyes, selecting piece after piece. "Those belong to me," Maya said from the doorway. "Mama said so. She said when I grew up I could have all her jewelry." Crystal turned slowly. "Did she now?" "Yes, it's in her will. I heard her tell Daddy Derek." Something flickered across Crystal's face. Annoyance. Maybe fear. "Well, sweetie, things change. Your daddy is in no condition to manage an estate. Someone responsible needs to take care of these valuables. I'm just keeping them safe." "You're stealing them." Crystal moved fast. Her hand cracked across Maya's cheek before the little girl even saw it coming. Maya stumbled, her ear ringing her face, burning. "Never," Crystal said through clenched teeth. "Never accuse me of stealing again. I am your aunt. I am here to help. And if you say one more word about this to anyone, I will make sure you regret it. Do you understand me?" Maya's hand touched her stinging cheek. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run to Derek and tell him everything. But Derek was unconscious on the couch with an empty bottle in his hand. There was no one to help her. "I understand," Maya whispered. "Good." Crystal's sweet smile returned like nothing had happened. "Now run along and play. The adults have work to do." That night, Maya did something she had never done before. She stayed awake until midnight, waiting for the house to go quiet. She waited until Crystal's snoring echoed from the guest bedroom. She waited until Derek's unconscious breathing became a steady rhythm. Then she crept downstairs to the kitchen. Crystal's purse sat on the counter. Maya knew it was wrong to go through someone's things. Mama had taught her that. But Mama had also taught her that when something bad was happening, you had to find a way to stop it. Maya's small hands trembled as she opened the purse. Mama's wedding ring was there, and her pearl earrings, and the gold bracelet Grandma gave her for her 30th birthday. But there was something else, too. Papers. Lots of papers with big words Maya didn't understand. Power of attorney. Asset transfer. Trust amendment. And at the bottom a photograph. Maya's breath caught. It was a picture of Mama and a tall man in a blue suit laughing together on the front steps of this very brownstone. They looked young, happy, like old friends who had known each other forever. Maya turned the picture over. On the back, in Mama's handwriting, were the words, "Me and Marcus, summer 1999, the day he got into law school. I always knew he'd make something of himself." Marcus. Maya knew that name. She had heard Mama say it on the phone sometimes. "Marcus, you worry too much. I'm going to be fine. Yes, I promise. Yes, I'll tell Maya you said hi." And once, when Mama didn't know Maya was listening, she heard her say something else. "If anything happens to me, Marcus, promise me you'll look after Maya. Derek is a good man, but grief does terrible things to people. And Crystal, don't let Crystal anywhere near my baby. Promise me." Maya stared at the photograph. Mama had a plan. Even before she died, Mama had a plan to keep Maya safe. She just had to find this man. This? Marcus. Maya looked at Crystal's phone charging on the counter next to the purse. She had seen Mama type phone numbers before. She knew how it worked. But she didn't know Marcus's number. Her heart sank. Then she remembered something. The old phone book in the kitchen drawer. Mama always said it was silly to keep a paper phone book in the digital age, but she kept it anyway, just in case. Maya found the book and flipped to the W's. Washington, Watson, Wellington, Wellington Marcus, attorney at law, Wellington and Associates. There was a phone number. Maya's hands shook so hard she could barely hold Crystal's phone. She typed the numbers slowly, terrified of making a mistake. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. "Please pick up. Please, please, please." "Hello," a man's voice. Deep, strong, wide awake even though it was past midnight. Maya's throat closed up. She couldn't speak. "Hello, who is this?" Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "I need help. Please." A pause, then softer. "Who is this? Are you in danger?" "My mama died." The words poured out before Maya could stop them. "My mama died, and Daddy Derek hates me now, and Aunt Crystal's being mean, and she hit me, and she's stealing Mama's things, and I'm scared, and I don't know what to do, and I found a picture of you with Mama in her phone book, had your number, and please, please, I need help." Silence. Then, "Maya? Is this Maya Johnson?" She almost collapsed with relief. "Yes, how did you know?" "Your mama told me all about you, sweetheart. She talked about you every time we spoke. She said you were the bravest little girl in all of Harlem. My name is Marcus Wellington. Your mama was my best friend since we were children." Maya clutched the phone with both hands. "She said to call you if something bad happened. I heard her tell you to watch over me." Another pause. When Marcus spoke again, his voice was different, harder, like steel wrapped in velvet. "Maya, listen to me very carefully. Are you safe right now? Has anyone hurt you?" Maya thought about the slap, about the red marks on her chin, about Crystal's cold eyes. "I don't know. I'm scared." "Where is Crystal right now?" "Sleeping. Everyone's sleeping." "Good. Maya, I need you to do exactly what I tell you. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Put the phone back exactly where you found it. Don't take anything from that purse. Go back to your room and try to sleep. I'm going to come tomorrow morning first thing. I'm going to fix this. Do you trust me?" Maya remembered Mama's words. "Marcus is the only person who never let me down, baby girl. If you ever need help and I'm not there, you find him." "Mama trusted you," Maya said, "so I trust you, too." "Good girl. You're being so brave, Maya. Your mama would be proud. Now one more thing. If anyone tries to hurt you before I get there, if anyone tries to throw you out of that house, I want you to scream. Scream as loud as you can. There's a neighbor, Mrs. Ruth Williams. She lives right next door. She was your grandmother's best friend. She'll help you. Can you remember that, huh? Mrs. Ruth, next door." "That's right. I'll see you in the morning, Maya. I promise you are not alone. The call ended. Maya put the phone back exactly where she found it. She closed Crystal's purse. She crept past the living room where Derek snored on the couch, past the guest bedroom where Crystal's snoring rattled through the door. She climbed into bed with Honey clutched to her chest. For the first time since Mama died, she felt something other than despair. Someone was coming. Someone Mama trusted. Someone who might save her. Maya closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Morning came faster than she expected. She woke to the sound of voices downstairs. Crystal's voice sharp and demanding. Derek's voice slurred and confused. And a third voice, one Maya didn't recognize. A man. Deep and oily like a snake trying to sound friendly. Maya got dressed quickly and crept to the top of the stairs. Crystal was sitting at the dining room table with Derek and a man Maya had never seen before. He was older, maybe 50, with slicked back gray hair and a cheap suit that tried too hard to look expensive. "Sign here," the man said, sliding papers across the table. "And here, and here." Derek's hand moved slowly mechanically like he was barely awake. "What am I signing?" Derek muttered. "Just some standard paperwork," Crystal said smoothly. "Nothing to worry about. Jerome here is a family attorney. He's helping us sort out Nicole's estate." Jerome? The oily man's name was Jerome. "The child is a complication," Jerome said, lowering his voice. "As long as she's in the picture, the trust can't be restructured. But if she's removed from the home, if we can establish that she's troubled, unstable, needs professional care." Maya's blood went cold. They were talking about getting rid of her, sending her away, so they could take Mama's house. "Derek won't like that," Crystal murmured. "He still has some attachment to the girl." "The attachment is weakening. You've seen it yourself. A few more days of whiskey, a few more conversations about what a burden she is, and he'll sign anything you put in front of him." Crystal smiled, that cold, terrible smile. "You're right. He's almost ready. By the end of the week, the girl will be gone, and this house will finally be mine." Maya couldn't breathe. She couldn't move. Her foot slipped on the stair. All three heads snapped toward the sound. "Well, well." Crystal's eyes locked onto Maya like a hawk spotting a mouse. "Look who's been eavesdropping." Maya turned and ran. She heard Crystal's heels on the stairs behind her. She ran into her bedroom and tried to slam the door, but Crystal was faster. She caught the door and shoved it open, sending Maya stumbling backward. "You sneaky little brat!" Crystal's face was twisted with rage. "What did you hear? What did you hear?" "Nothing!" Maya scrambled toward her window. "I didn't hear anything. Liar!" Crystal grabbed Maya's arm and yanked her back. "You're going to ruin everything, just like your mother ruined everything. She stole this house from me. It was supposed to be mine, and now you're going to stand in my way, just like she did." Crystal's hand rose. Maya screamed. Not just any scream. A scream that tore from the depths of her soul. A scream that rattled the windows. A scream that she prayed with every ounce of her being would reach Mrs. Ruth Williams next door. "Help somebody! Help me! Mrs. Ruth, help!" Crystal's hand clamped over Maya's mouth, but the damage was done. Downstairs, Derek was shouting something. Jerome was cursing. And from outside, through the thin walls of the old brownstone, came the sound of a door slamming open and heavy footsteps running. Then the front door of the brownstone exploded inward. Maya heard a voice she had only heard once before late at night on a stolen phone call, but she recognized it immediately. "Get your hands off that child!" Marcus Wellington stood in the doorway. He was taller than Maya had imagined. Broad-shouldered. His suit was dark blue, perfectly tailored, and his eyes burned with a fury that made even Crystal take a step back. Behind him stood a woman with short gray hair and fierce eyes, Mrs. Ruth Williams, the neighbor Mama used to bring peach cobbler to every Sunday. And beside her, a younger woman in a sharp gray suit already pulling out a phone. "Patricia," Marcus said without taking his eyes off Crystal. "Call Detective Reyes. Tell him we have a situation." The woman in gray nodded and stepped outside to make the call. Marcus walked into the house like he owned it. In 3 steps, he was between Crystal and Maya. "I said," he repeated his voice like controlled thunder, "get your hands off that child." Crystal released Maya so fast the little girl stumbled and fell. But before she hit the ground, Mrs. Ruth was there, catching her, wrapping her in strong arms that smelled like lavender and home cooking. "I got you, baby," Mrs. Ruth whispered. "I got you. You're safe now." Maya buried her face in Mrs. Ruth's shoulder and sobbed. Derek stumbled into the hallway, his face a mess of confusion and alcohol. "What the hell is going on? Who are you people? This is my house." Marcus turned to face him. The fury in his eyes shifted to something else. Something colder. Harder. "Your house." Marcus pulled a folder from inside his jacket. According to these documents, this house belongs to a trust established by Nicole Johnson for her daughter Maya. It was to be managed by her husband Derek Robinson until Maya reaches 18, but it seems someone has been trying to alter those terms. He laid the folder on the table next to Jerome's papers. Power of attorney documents, asset transfer requests, trust amendments that would effectively transfer control of the entire estate to one Crystal Hayes. Marcus's voice was like a judge reading a verdict. None of these have been filed yet, but they would have been, wouldn't they, as soon as you got Derek drunk enough to sign them? Crystal's face went white, then red, then a dangerous shade of purple. You can't prove anything, she hissed. I was just helping my family. Derek asked me to... Derek couldn't ask for a glass of water right now. Marcus turned back to the drunk man swaying in the hallway. Derek, do you know what you've been signing? Do you have any idea what this woman has been doing while you drank yourself into oblivion? Derek blinked, tried to focus. Crystal said, she said she was helping. She said a lot of things. She said Maya was a burden. She said you'd be better off without her. She said she was keeping Nicole's jewelry safe. Marcus picked up the papers Jerome had brought. Did she tell you that these documents would make Maya a ward of the state? Did she tell you that once Maya was out of the picture, the trust would be dissolved and the property would transfer to Crystal as Nicole's nearest living relative? Derek's face changed. Something penetrated the alcoholic fog. Something that looked like horror. No, that's not... Crystal, you said it was just temporary arrangements. You said Maya would be fine. You said... She lied to you, Derek. Marcus's voice cracked like a whip. Just like she lied to your wife. Just like she's been lying her whole life. Crystal Hayes has a history. She's been investigated for fraud 3 times in the last 7 years. She targets grieving families, especially wealthy ones. She isolates the victim, gains their trust, drains their assets, and disappears. Nicole knew this. That's why she cut Crystal out of her life. That's why she made me promise to protect Maya if anything happened. Derek's legs gave out. He collapsed against the wall, sliding down until he sat on the floor. Nicole told you about Crystal? Nicole told me everything. She knew her sister was dangerous. She knew Crystal would come for the house the moment she was gone. She made me promise Derek. She made me promise on her deathbed to keep Maya safe. Marcus turned back to Crystal. His voice dropped to a whisper that was somehow more terrifying than any shout. And I always keep my promises. The front door opened again. A man with a badge stepped inside. Detective Reyes, NYPD. Behind him, 2 uniformed officers. Crystal Hayes, Detective Reyes said, pulling out handcuffs. You're under arrest for fraud, attempted theft, and child endangerment. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Crystal's mask shattered completely. This is insane, Derek. Tell them I was just trying to help Derek. Derek didn't look at her. He was staring at Maya, who still clung to Mrs. Ruth, her small body shaking with sobs. I was helping you, Crystal screamed as the officers cuffed her. Nicole stole everything from me. This house was supposed to be mine. Our grandmother promised it to me, but perfect Nicole came along with her perfect life and her sick daughter routine, and everyone felt sorry for her. I was supposed to inherit everything, me, not her. The officers dragged her toward the door. This isn't over, Crystal shrieked. I'll get a lawyer. I'll sue all of you. Derek, don't let them do this to me. The door slammed shut behind her. Silence. Maya lifted her head from Mrs. Ruth's shoulder. Her face was streaked with tears, but her eyes found Derek across the room. Daddy? Derek flinched like she had struck him. I didn't know, he whispered. Maya, I swear I didn't know what she was doing. I was so lost, so angry, so... I blamed you because you look like her. Every time I saw your face, I saw Nicole, and it hurt so much I couldn't breathe. But I never wanted you to be sent away. I never wanted to lose you, too. Maya didn't move. She stayed wrapped in Mrs. Ruth's arms, watching Derek with eyes that had seen too much pain for a 6-year-old. You threw me out, she said quietly. You threw me on the steps and said you weren't my daddy. Derek made a sound like something was breaking inside him. I know, God help me, I know. I was drunk, I was angry, I was everything your mother would have hated. But Maya? His voice cracked. Maya, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Marcus stepped between them. His voice was firm but not unkind. Sorry doesn't fix this, Derek. You had a responsibility to that child. You had a promise to keep to your wife. And the moment things got hard, you broke both. Sorry is just a word. Actions are what matter. Derek looked up at Marcus. What do I do? How do I fix this? First, you get sober. Really sober. Not for a day, not for a week. Permanently. Second, you get help. Therapy, grief counseling, whatever it takes. Third, you show up every single day. You prove to that little girl that she can trust you again. Derek nodded slowly. And if I do all that, will she forgive me? Marcus looked at Maya. Her small face was still pressed against Mrs. Ruth's shoulder, but her eyes were watching Derek. Watching and waiting. That's not up to me, Marcus said. That's up to her. Forgiveness isn't something you earn in a day. It's something you build one moment at a time for as long as it takes. Maya pulled back from Mrs. Ruth. She looked at Marcus, then at Derek, then at Mrs. Ruth. I want to go somewhere safe, she said. Her voice was small but steady. I don't want to stay here tonight. Marcus knelt down so he was at her eye level. You don't have to, sweetheart. You can come home with me. I have a guest room all ready. Mrs. Ruth helped me set it up last night. Maya looked at Mrs. Ruth, who nodded. Marcus is a good man, baby, Mrs. Ruth said. Your mama trusted him with her whole heart, and I've known him since he was your age, running around this neighborhood with holes in his shoes. He grew up right. You can trust him. Maya took a shaky breath. She looked at Derek one more time. Will you get better? She asked. Will you really try? Derek's face crumpled. Yes, I swear on your mother's grave, I will get better. Maya was silent for a long moment. Okay, she finally said. I'll go with Uncle Marcus, but... She hesitated. But maybe you can come visit when you're not drunk anymore. I don't want to lose two daddies. The word hit Derek like a bullet. Daddies. She still called him Daddy. After everything he had done, she still called him Daddy. I'll come, Derek whispered. I'll come every time they let me. I promise. Mama said you're good at promises. Maya's voice was very small. She said you just forget sometimes. So don't forget this time. Okay? Derek couldn't speak. He just nodded, tears streaming down his face. Marcus stood up and held out his hand to Maya. Ready to go, sweetheart? Maya took one last look around the brownstone, at the pictures on the walls, at Mama's favorite chair, at the kitchen where Mama used to make Sunday breakfast. Then she took Marcus's hand and walked out the door. Mrs. Ruth followed, but she stopped in front of Derek before she left. Nicole loved you, she said quietly. That's why she married you. But love isn't enough if you don't back it up with action. That little girl deserves better than what you gave her this week. Don't you dare let her down again. Then she was gone too. Derek sat alone in the empty house. The papers were still on the table. The ones Crystal had made him sign. The ones that would have stolen everything Nicole built. He picked them up. Then he walked to the kitchen, turned on the stove, and burned them one by one. When the last paper was ash, he went to the sink and opened the cabinet beneath it. 5 bottles of whiskey, his emergency stash, the bottles that had helped him survive the last week. He picked up the first one. For a moment, just a moment, he wanted to drink it, to numb the pain again, to forget everything he had seen and done and become. But then he remembered Maya's face, her small voice asking him to get better. I don't want to lose 2 daddies. Derek poured the first bottle down the drain, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then the 5th. He stood there until every drop was gone, his hands shaking, his whole body screaming for just one sip. Nicole, he whispered to the empty house, I'm going to try. I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try. For you, for Maya, for the man I used to be before grief turned me into a monster. No one answered, but somewhere in the deepest part of Derek's broken heart, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. It was small. It was fragile. It might not survive the night, but it was there, and that was a start. Across the street through her window, Mrs. Ruth Williams watched Marcus help Maya into his car. The little girl clutched her teddy bear Honey tight against her chest, but she wasn't crying anymore. Mrs. Ruth had known this family for 40 years. She had watched Nicole grow from a baby to a woman. She had been there when Nicole married Derek, when Maya was born, when the cancer diagnosis came like a thunderbolt out of a clear sky. She had promised Nicole in those last terrible days at the hospital that she would watch over Maya. Tonight, she had kept that promise. Mrs. Ruth wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and turned away from the window. On her kitchen table sat a plate of the peach cobbler she had made for the funeral. Nobody had eaten it. Everyone had been too sad. She covered it with foil and put it in the refrigerator. Maybe tomorrow she would take it over to Marcus's house. Maya always loved her peach cobbler. It wouldn't fix anything, but it was something. And sometimes in the darkest moments, something was enough. The Mercedes pulled away from the curb, carrying Maya toward an uncertain future and a man who had promised her dying mother that he would make everything right. Behind them, the brownstone in Harlem stood silent in the gathering darkness. Inside, Derek Robinson knelt on the kitchen floor surrounded by empty bottles and prayed for the first time since his wife's diagnosis. "God," he whispered, "I know I don't deserve your help. I know I've failed everyone who ever loved me. But please, please give me the strength to become the man that little girl needs. Please help me find my way back." The only answer was silence. But silence, Derek thought, was better than the voice of the whiskey. It was a long road ahead. He didn't know if he could walk it, but he was going to try. For Nicole, for Maya, for whatever was left of his own broken soul. And in the back of Marcus Wellington's Mercedes, with the lights of Harlem sliding past outside the window, Maya Johnson finally closed her eyes. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know if Daddy Derek would really get better. She didn't know if she would ever feel safe again. But she knew one thing. Mama had kept her promise. Even from heaven, Mama had sent someone to save her. "Thank you, Mama," Maya whispered so softly that Marcus almost didn't hear. He glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the little girl hugging her teddy bear, her eyes closed, her face finally peaceful. "You're welcome, sweetheart," Marcus said quietly. "Your mama says you're welcome." Maya's lips curved into the smallest smile, and somewhere far away beyond the lights of the city and the darkness of grief, Nicole Johnson watched over her daughter and smiled too. The story was far from over. But tonight, for the first time since her mother died, Maya Johnson was safe, and that was everything. The Mercedes pulled into the underground garage of Marcus Wellington's brownstone in Brooklyn Heights at exactly 11:47 p.m. Maya had fallen asleep somewhere around the Brooklyn Bridge, her small body finally surrendering to exhaustion. Marcus carried her inside, careful not to wake her honey. The teddy bear still clutched tight against her chest. Mrs. Dorothy Chen, his housekeeper for 15 years, was waiting at the door. She took one look at the sleeping child, and her weathered face softened. "Poor baby," she whispered. "The guest room is ready. I put extra blankets on the bed and left the nightlight on." Marcus nodded his thanks. He carried Maya up the stairs and laid her gently on the guest bed. He removed her shoes, but left her in her clothes. She had been through enough today without waking up confused in unfamiliar pajamas. He pulled the covers up to her chin and stood there for a long moment watching her sleep. Nicole's daughter. His best friend's only child. The girl he had promised to protect. "I won't fail you," he whispered. "I won't fail her." Maya stirred but didn't wake. Her fingers tightened around Honey's worn fur. Marcus turned off the overhead light, leaving only the small moon-shaped nightlight glowing in the corner. Then he closed the door halfway, exactly the way Nicole used to do, and went downstairs to make the calls that would change everything. The first call was to Patricia Okonkwo, his senior partner. "It's worse than we thought," Marcus said without preamble. "Crystal had documents ready to transfer the entire estate. She was using a man named Jerome Watts as her attorney. I need everything you can find on him by morning." Patricia's voice was sharp, focused. "Already on it. Detective Reyes sent me copies of what they found at the house. Marcus, this goes deeper than one greedy aunt. Jerome Watts has connections to at least 3 other cases of estate fraud in the last 5 years. Same pattern. Grieving families. Vulnerable targets. Assets drained before anyone realizes what happened." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we don't just stop Crystal. We take down the whole network." "Agreed. I'll have the full briefing ready by 8 a.m. The second call was harder. It was to Karen Mitchell, the social worker assigned to Maya's case by Child Protective Services. She had been notified the moment Crystal was arrested, and she was not happy about what she had heard. "Mr. Wellington, I need to see that child first thing tomorrow morning. We need to assess her living situation, her physical condition, and her emotional state. If she's been abused—" "She has been," Marcus interrupted. "Crystal hit her. There may be marks, and Derek the stepfather has been emotionally abusive since the mother's death. He threw her out of the house, Karen. A 6-year-old child. In the middle of the night." Silence on the other end. "I'll be there at 7 a.m., Karen said finally. "And Mr. Wellington, I know you have the best intentions, but that child needs professional evaluation, not just a comfortable bed. Don't make any promises you can't keep." "I never do." Marcus hung up and stared at the phone in his hand. Nicole's voice echoed in his memory. The last conversation they ever had 3 weeks before she died. "Marcus, I'm scared. Not of dying. I made my peace with that. But Maya. Crystal will come for her. The moment I'm gone, Crystal will come for everything I built. She's never forgiven me for the house. She's never forgiven me for having what she thinks should be hers. I won't let that happen, Nikki. You know I won't. Promise me on your grandmother's grave. I promise. Marcus closed his eyes. He had kept his promise. Maya was safe at least for tonight, but the battle was just beginning. 7 hours later, the sun rose over Brooklyn. Maya woke up screaming. Marcus was in her room before the second scream ended, bursting through the door, to find her sitting up in bed, eyes wild, tears streaming down her face. Mama! Mama! Maya! Marcus knelt beside the bed, careful not to touch her, not wanting to startle her further. Maya, sweetheart, you're safe. You're in my house. Remember, I'm Marcus, your mama's friend. Maya's breathing was ragged. Her eyes darted around the unfamiliar room, searching for danger that wasn't there. Where's Mama? She whispered. I heard her voice. She was calling me. Marcus felt his heart crack. It was a dream, sweetheart. Just a dream. Maya's face crumpled. I want her back. I want my mama back. Why did she have to die? Why did she leave me? Marcus had no answer. There was no answer. Cancer didn't care about fairness. Death didn't negotiate. I don't know, Maya. I wish I did. But I know your mama loved you more than anything in the world. And I know she's watching over you right now, wherever she is. Then why didn't she stop Aunt Crystal? Why didn't she stop Daddy Derek from being mean? The questions of a child who had lost everything. Questions that had no good answers. Sometimes, Marcus said slowly, people who love us can only do so much. Your mama tried to protect you. She made plans. She asked me to watch over you. She asked Mrs. Ruth to keep an eye on you. She did everything she could, but she couldn't control what other people chose to do after she was gone. Maya wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Is Daddy Derek going to come get me? Not today. Maybe not for a while. He needs to get better first. What if he never gets better? Marcus took a deep breath. Then you'll stay with me, for as long as you need. I'm not going to abandon you, Maya, no matter what happens. Maya looked at him with her mother's eyes, searching, testing, looking for the lie. She didn't find one. Okay, she whispered. Okay. At 7:00 a.m. exactly, Karen Mitchell arrived. She was a black woman in her mid-30s, professional and thorough, with kind eyes that had seen too much pain. She sat with Maya in the living room while Marcus watched from the doorway. Maya, can you tell me what happened at your house? In your own words. Maya clutched Honey and began to talk. She talked about Derek's drinking, about Crystal's lies, about the night she was thrown out, about the slap, about the phone call to Marcus. Karen wrote everything down. Her face remained neutral, but Marcus saw her pen press harder into the paper with every revelation. When Maya finished, Karen asked to examine her. The marks on Maya's chin had faded to pale yellow bruises. The scrapes on her knees from falling on the steps were scabbed over. But the damage that couldn't be seen, the damage to her heart and mind and soul that would take much longer to heal. I'm recommending emergency temporary custody be granted to Mr. Wellington, Karen said to Marcus after Maya had gone upstairs with Mrs. Chen. The child clearly trusts him, and he has the resources to provide a stable environment. But I need to be clear, this is temporary. There will be hearings, there will be evaluations, and if Derek Robinson gets sober and demonstrates he can be a fit parent, the court may decide to return her to him. And if Crystal fights us, Karen's expression hardened. From what I've seen, Crystal Hayes belongs in prison, but she has rights too. She'll get a lawyer, she'll make accusations. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. Marcus had no illusions. He knew exactly how ugly it was going to get. He just didn't know it would start that same afternoon. At 2:00 p.m., Patricia Okonkwo called with news that made Marcus's blood run cold. Crystal made bail. What? How the charges? She has friends, Marcus. Powerful friends. Someone paid her bail in cash this morning. She walked out of holding an hour ago. Marcus gripped the phone so hard it creaked. Where is she now? Unknown. But Marcus, there's more. She's retained Reginald Stone as her attorney. Cisco. The name hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. Reginald Stone, the most ruthless defense attorney in New York. A man who had gotten murderers acquitted, who had destroyed witnesses on the stand, who would do anything, say anything to win a case. She's going to fight for custody, Marcus said. She's going to claim she was trying to help Derek, that we overreacted, that Maya is lying. It's worse than that. Patricia's voice was grim. Stone filed a motion this afternoon. He's claiming that you are the one who manipulated the situation, that you used your friendship with Nicole to position yourself for control of the estate, that you orchestrated Crystal's arrest to eliminate competition for guardianship. Marcus couldn't speak. Marcus, they're going to try to destroy you. Stone is already requesting your financial records, your communication history with Nicole, everything. He's going to make this about you, not about what Crystal did. The room spun. Marcus had faced hard cases before. He had taken on corporations, corrupt politicians, powerful criminals. He had won cases everyone said were unwinnable, but this was different. This was personal. This was about a little girl upstairs who trusted him to keep her safe. "Let them come," Marcus said, his voice hard as iron. "Let them bring everything they have. I made a promise to Nicole Johnson, and I will not break it. Not for Reginald Stone, not for Crystal Hayes, not for anyone." "Marcus, call Michael Turner. Tell him we're going to war." The next 3 days were chaos. Lawyers filed motions. Detectives gathered evidence. Social workers conducted interviews. The press caught wind of the story, and suddenly Marcus Wellington's face was on the evening news. "Millionaire attorney caught in custody battle for dead friend's daughter." The headlines were everywhere. Maya saw one on Mrs. Chen's tablet. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood enough. "Uncle Marcus, are people saying bad things about you?" Marcus knelt down to her level. "Some people are, yes." "Why?" "Because I'm trying to protect you, and some people don't like that." Maya's small face scrunched up with confusion. "But protecting people is good. Mama always said protecting the ones you love is the most important thing. Your mama was a very wise woman. Then why are people being mean to you for doing what Mama said?" Marcus didn't have a good answer for that. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that the world doesn't always reward good intentions, that sometimes doing the right thing makes you a target, sometimes... He said carefully, when you try to help someone, other people get jealous. They want what you have. They want to be the hero instead of you, so they try to make you look bad so they can look good. Maya thought about this for a long moment. "Aunt Crystal is jealous," she said finally. "She wanted Mama's house. She wanted Mama's things. She wanted everything Mama had." "Yes, she did. And now she wants me to go away so she can have it all." Marcus's throat tightened. "You're very smart, Maya." "Mama said being smart is important, but being kind is importanter." Maya paused. "Is that a real word, importanter?" Despite everything, Marcus laughed. "I don't think so, but your mama was right. Being kind is more important." Maya nodded seriously, then she reached out and took Marcus's hand. "I think you're kind, Uncle Marcus, and I think Mama was right to trust you." Those words, those simple words from a 6-year-old child, they gave Marcus strength he didn't know he needed. Day 4 brought the first court hearing. Maya didn't have to attend. She stayed home with Mrs. Chen and Mrs. Ruth, who had driven down from Harlem, to be with her. But Marcus, Patricia, and their team faced off against Reginald Stone in a packed courtroom. The judge was the Honorable Evelyn Crawford, 58 years old, 20 years on the family court bench, a reputation for fairness and zero tolerance for manipulation. Stone came out swinging. "Your Honor, my client Crystal Hayes is the victim of a coordinated attack designed to rob her of her rightful relationship with her niece. Mr. Wellington, despite his noble public image, has personal financial interest in controlling the Johnson estate. He positioned himself as a savior, while simultaneously eliminating Ms. Hayes as competition." Patricia stood before Stone could continue. "Your Honor, that's not only false, it's absurd. Mr. Wellington is independently wealthy. The Johnson estate, while significant, represents a fraction of his net worth. He has no financial motive whatsoever." "Then why," Stone countered, "did Mr. Wellington arrive at the Johnson residence with police already in tow? How did he know to bring Detective Reyes unless this was a premeditated attack on my client?" Marcus felt Patricia's tension beside him. This was the question they had been dreading. Judge Crawford turned to Marcus. "Mr. Wellington, I'd like to hear directly from you. How did this arrest come about?" Marcus stood. His voice was steady. "Your Honor, the night before the arrest, I received a phone call at approximately 12:30 a.m. It was from Maya Johnson, a 6-year-old child alone and terrified, calling from her aunt's stolen cell phone because she had no other way to reach help." The courtroom went silent. "She told me her father was drunk and abusive. She told me her aunt was stealing her mother's belongings. She told me she was scared and didn't know what to do. I told her to hold on until morning. I contacted Detective Reyes, who was already investigating Crystal Hayes for previous fraud allegations, and I went to that house the next morning to keep a promise I made to Maya's dying mother." Marcus turned to look directly at Stone. "I didn't position myself as anything. I was called. by a desperate child who had no one else to turn to. And I responded, because that's what Nicole Johnson, my best friend for 30 years, asked me to do on her deathbed. You can subpoena my phone records. You can examine every document in my possession. You will find nothing but a man trying to protect a child from the people who should have protected her first. Judge Crawford studied Marcus for a long moment. I'd like to hear the phone call, she said. Marcus's heart stopped. Your Honor, Mr. Wellington, if this call exists, I want to hear it. Can you provide a recording? Marcus looked at Patricia. They hadn't thought to record the call. It had been the middle of the night. He had been focused on Maya, not evidence. But before Marcus could respond, Detective Reyes stood up from the gallery. Your Honor, if I may. Judge Crawford nodded. NYPD routinely records incoming calls to officers' personal phones when they're registered for on-duty contact. I received a call from Mr. Wellington at 12:47 a.m. on the night in question. He informed me of the situation and requested backup. That call and the timestamp is in evidence. But the original call from the child, Reyes hesitated. Ms. Hayes' phone records would show an outgoing call to Mr. Wellington's number at approximately 12:30 a.m. We've already subpoenaed those records as part of the fraud investigation. Stone's face went pale. He hadn't known about the phone records. Judge Crawford made a note. I'm ordering those records to be submitted to the court by end of business tomorrow. Mr. Stone, do you have any other motions at this time? Stone recovered quickly. Your Honor, regardless of how the arrest occurred, my client maintains her innocence. She was acting in good faith to help her grieving brother-in-law. Any documents she prepared were at his request. Any items she secured from the estate were for safekeeping. There is no evidence of criminal intent. There is evidence of assault, Patricia interjected. Maya Johnson showed physical marks consistent with being struck by an adult. The child independently identified Ms. Hayes as her attacker. A child's testimony is easily influenced, Stone countered, especially a traumatized child who has been coached by adults with their own agenda. Judge Crawford held up her hand. Enough. I've heard enough for today. I'm granting temporary emergency custody of Maya Johnson to Marcus Wellington effective immediately. I'm also issuing a restraining order preventing Crystal Hayes from coming within 500 feet of the child. The next hearing will be in 2 weeks. Both parties should be prepared to present full evidence at that time. The gavel came down. Marcus allowed himself exactly 3 seconds of relief. Then his phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Ruth. Come home now. Something's wrong with Derek. Marcus was in his car within 5 minutes. He called Mrs. Ruth as he drove. What happened? He showed up at your door about 20 minutes ago, sober from what I can tell, but he's a mess, Marcus. He's been crying. He keeps saying he needs to see Maya. He needs to apologize. He can't live with himself. Don't let him inside. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He's not trying to come inside. He's just sitting on your front steps, won't move, won't leave. Says he'll wait there until you get home, even if it takes all night. Marcus pressed harder on the accelerator. When he arrived, Derek was exactly where Mrs. Ruth had described. Sitting on the brownstone steps, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Marcus approached slowly. Derek. Derek looked up. His face was ravaged. Dark circles under bloodshot eyes. 3 days of stubble. But his gaze was clear, focused. Not the glazed look of a man swimming in whiskey. I'm not drunk, Derek said. I haven't had a drink since you left with Maya. I poured it all out, every bottle. I've been going to meetings. 3 days in a row. Marcus stood over him, arms crossed. 3 days doesn't erase what you did. I know. Derek's voice cracked. I know it doesn't, but I had to come. I had to tell you. To tell Maya. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need her to know that I'm trying. That I remember what I promised Nicole, that I haven't given up. You threw her out. I threw her out, Derek. You called her a burden. You let Crystal manipulate you into signing away her inheritance. I know, Huck. Derek's shout echoed off the brownstone walls. Then quieter. I know, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. But Marcus, please, please let me see her, just for 5 minutes. I just need to tell her myself that I'm going to fight, that I'm not going to be the man I was last week. Marcus stared at the broken man on his steps. Part of him wanted to say no. Part of him wanted to make Derek suffer the way Maya had suffered. But another part remembered Nicole's voice. He's a good man, Marcus. Grief can destroy good men, but it can also rebuild them. Don't give up on him. 5 minutes, Marcus said. I'll be in the room the entire time, and if you upset her, if you make her cry, I will personally throw you out, and you will never see her again. Understood? Derek nodded frantically. Understood. Thank you. Thank you. Marcus led him inside. Maya was in the living room drawing pictures with the crayons Mrs. Chen had bought her. When she saw Derek, she froze. Daddy. Derek stopped just inside the doorway. He didn't move closer. He seemed to understand that he hadn't earned that right. Hi, baby girl. His voice trembled. Can I talk to you just for a minute? Maya looked at Marcus. He nodded. She set down her crayon and stood up, but she didn't approach Derek. She stayed where she was. Honey clutched tight against her chest. Are you drunk? She asked. Derek flinched like she had slapped him. No, baby, I'm not drunk. I'm not going to drink anymore. I promise. You promised before. You promised Mama you'd take care of me. I know I did. And I broke that promise. I broke the most important promise I ever made. But Maya, I'm here to make a new promise. And this time, I'm going to keep it. Maya's eyes were guarded. Wary. Far too old for a 6-year-old. What promise? Derek took a deep breath. I promise that I'm going to get help. Real help. I'm going to go to meetings every day. I'm going to talk to a therapist. I'm going to do everything the doctors tell me to do. And when I'm better, when I can prove that I'm the man your mama believed in, I'm going to come back. And I'm going to be your daddy again. The daddy I should have been all along. Maya was silent for a long moment. What if you don't get better? The question hung in the air. Then, Derek swallowed hard. Then at least you'll know I tried. And you'll know that even when I was at my worst, even when I said terrible things and did terrible things, I never stopped loving you. I was just too broken to show it. Maya took one small step forward. Mama said you had a good heart. She said sometimes good hearts get sick just like bodies get sick. She said you just needed medicine for your heart. Derek's eyes filled with tears. Your mama was the smartest person I ever knew. I know. Maya took another step. I'm still mad at you. I'm still scared of the you that threw me out. But Mama also said that people can change, that if they really, really want to, they can become better. She stopped just out of arm's reach. I want you to become better, Daddy. But you have to really do it. Not just say it. You have to prove it. Derek nodded. I will. I swear to you, Maya, I will prove it. Maya looked at him for a long, searching moment. Then she turned around and went back to her crayons. Okay, she said simply. You can go now. Derek stood there, tears streaming down his face, watching his daughter draw. Marcus touched his arm. Time's up. Derek nodded. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for letting me see her. Don't thank me. Show her. Every day in every action, show her that you meant what you said. I will. I swear I will. Marcus walked Derek to the door. Before Derek left, he turned back one more time. Marcus, take care of her. Until I can do it myself, take care of her like she's your own. I already do, Marcus said. Now go get better. For her, for Nicole, for yourself. Derek nodded and walked down the steps into the fading afternoon light. Marcus closed the door and leaned against it. In the living room, Maya was still drawing, but there was something different about her now. Something lighter. Like a weight she had been carrying had shifted just a little. Uncle Marcus, she called. Yes, sweetheart. I drew a picture. Do you want to see it? Marcus walked over and knelt beside her. The picture showed 3 figures, a tall man in a blue suit, a little girl with puffed ponytails, and in the sky above them, a woman with wings surrounded by sunshine. That's you, Maya pointed. That's me, and that's Mama watching us from heaven. Marcus's throat tightened. It's beautiful, Maya. Do you think Mama can really see us? I think so. I think she sees everything we do. Maya nodded. Good. Then she knows you kept your promise. She picked up a yellow crayon and started adding more sunshine to the sky. And she knows Daddy is trying, even if he has a long way to go. Marcus watched her draw this extraordinary child who had lost everything and somehow found the strength to keep hoping. Tomorrow would bring more battles, more courtrooms, more accusations from Crystal and Stone, more struggles ahead. But tonight in this moment there was peace. There was a little girl drawing sunshine. There was a father taking his first steps toward redemption. And there was a promise made to a dying woman being kept one day at a time. The phone rang, shattering the quiet. Marcus answered. Wellington. Patricia's voice was urgent. Marcus, we have a problem. A big one. What happened? Stone just filed an emergency motion. He's claiming Derek Robinson was coerced into his statement against Crystal. He's saying Derek was under the influence when the arrest happened, and any statements he made are inadmissible. And Marcus, what? Crystal just gave an interview to Channel 4. She's telling her side of the story. She's saying you and Nicole were having an affair. She's saying Maya might actually be your daughter, and she's demanding a paternity test. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. That's insane. Nicole and I were never... I know, but Stone doesn't care about truth. He cares about creating doubt. And right now he's planting seeds that could destroy everything we've built. Marcus looked at Maya still drawing her sunshine. The battle wasn't over. It was just beginning. Marcus stood frozen with the phone pressed against his ear, Patricia's words echoing in his skull like a death sentence. An affair. A paternity test. Crystal was claiming Maya might be his biological daughter. Marcus, are you still there? I'm here. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. Distant, like it belonged to someone else. When does the interview air? 6 o'clock news in 45 minutes. Marcus checked his watch. 5:17 p.m. Can we stop it? No, it's already recorded. Stone made sure of that before we even knew it was happening. Marcus's mind raced. Nicole had been his best friend for 30 years. They had grown up together, gone to school together, celebrated every milestone together, but they had never not once crossed the line into anything romantic. And now Crystal was going to destroy Nicole's memory with a lie. Marcus, there's something else. Patricia's voice dropped. Stone is smart. He knows the paternity claim is probably false, but that's not the point. The point is to make you react, to make you look defensive, to shift the narrative from Crystal's crimes to your relationship with Nicole. So what do I do? Let her lie to the whole city? For now, yes, we respond in court, not in the press. We get the DNA test done immediately, prove it's negative, and then we bury Crystal with the truth. Marcus closed his eyes. In the other room, Maya was still drawing her sunshine pictures. Innocent. Unaware that her dead mother was about to be dragged through the mud on live television. I need to tell Maya, Marcus said, before she sees it somewhere else. Are you sure that's wise? She's only 6. She's 6 years old, and she's already been through more than most adults. She deserves to hear it from someone who cares about her, not from a TV screen. Patricia was silent for a moment. You're a good man, Marcus Wellington. Nicole was lucky to have you as a friend. I'm not feeling very lucky right now. Marcus hung up and walked into the living room. Maya looked up from her drawing. Her smile faded when she saw his face. What's wrong, Uncle Marcus? He knelt down beside her, taking her small hands in his. Maya, I need to talk to you about something that's going to be hard to hear. Her eyes went wide. Is it Daddy Derek? Did something happen to him? No, your daddy is fine. He's still working on getting better. Marcus took a breath. This is about Aunt Crystal. Maya's face hardened. For a 6-year-old, she had learned to armor herself fast. What did she do now? She's going to be on TV tonight, and she's going to say some things, bad things, lies about me and your mama. What kind of lies? Marcus chose his words carefully. She's going to say that your mama and I were more than friends, that we had a special relationship that wasn't true, and she's going to say... He stopped. How do you explain this to a child? She's going to say that maybe I'm your real daddy instead of your mama's husband. Maya stared at him. But that's stupid, she said finally. My daddy was James. He left before I was born. Then Mama married Daddy Derek. You're just Uncle Marcus. Mama told me all about it. I know, sweetheart, but Aunt Crystal is going to lie anyway, and some people might believe her. Maya's lower lip trembled. Why would she lie about Mama's dead? She can't even defend herself. Marcus felt his heart break all over again. Because Aunt Crystal is trying to hurt me, and she knows that hurting your mama's memory is the best way to do that. Because your mama meant everything to me. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that Marcus never expected. We should call Daddy Derek. What? Daddy Derek knew Mama better than anyone. He was married to her. He knows the truth. If he tells everyone that Aunt Crystal is lying, maybe people will believe him. Marcus stared at this remarkable child. Maya, that's a brilliant idea. Mama always said I was smart. Maya picked up her yellow crayon again. Call Daddy Derek. Tell him Aunt Crystal is being mean to Mama. He'll help. He loved her. Even when he was being bad, he loved her. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed Derek's number. It rang 4 times before Derek answered, his voice rough but clear. Marcus, is Maya okay? She's fine, but we have a situation. Crystal is about to go on TV and claim that Nicole and I had an affair. She's demanding a paternity test for Maya. Silence. Then Derek's voice came back, hard as stone. She's doing what? I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. But she's going to say it anyway. Patricia thinks we should let it play out, respond in court, but Maya had another idea. Maya? She thinks you should tell the truth, publicly. You were Nicole's husband. You knew her better than anyone. If you defend her honor, people might listen. Derek was quiet for so long that Marcus thought the call had dropped. Derek, I'm here. His voice cracked. Nicole was the most faithful woman I ever knew. She never looked at another man the whole time we were married. She talked about you constantly, Marcus, but it was always as her brother, her best friend, her family, never anything more. I know. Crystal is doing this because she's desperate, because she knows she's going to prison, and she wants to burn everything down on her way there. That's exactly what Patricia said. Another pause. What time is the interview? 6 o'clock, about 30 minutes from now. Channel 4. Yes. I'll be there. Marcus blinked. What? I'll be there. At the station. I'll demand the right to respond. I'll tell them the truth about Nicole, about Crystal, about everything, and if they won't let me on air, I'll stand outside with a sign if I have to. Derek, are you sure you've only been sober for a few days? The stress of watching my dead wife get slandered on television. Yeah, that's stressful. But you know what's more stressful? Knowing I did nothing to stop it. I failed Nicole when she was alive, Marcus. I failed Maya after Nicole died. I'm not going to fail them again. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, something that might have been respect. Thank you, Derek. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for her, for both of them. The line went dead. Maya looked up from her drawing. Is Daddy Derek going to help? Yes, sweetheart, he is. Maya nodded, satisfied. Good. Mama would be proud of him. At 5:52 p.m., Marcus turned on the television. Mrs. Chen had taken Maya upstairs for a bath. Marcus had asked her to keep Maya away from the TV for the next hour. Whatever happened, he didn't want Maya to see it live. The Channel 4 news desk appeared. The anchor, a polished woman named Sandra Blake, shuffled her papers. Good evening. Tonight, a shocking development in the custody battle that has gripped the city. Crystal Hayes, sister of the late Nicole Johnson, has come forward with explosive allegations against millionaire attorney Marcus Wellington. We have an exclusive interview. The screen cut to Crystal. She was dressed conservatively. Modest makeup, soft lighting. She looked nothing like the screaming woman who had been dragged out of the brownstone in handcuffs. Marcus Wellington is not the hero everyone thinks he is, Crystal said, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. He and my sister were having an affair for years. Nicole confided in me. She was torn between her loyalty to her husband and her feelings for Marcus. And when she got sick, Marcus saw his opportunity. He positioned himself to take control of everything, including Maya. The interviewer leaned forward. Are you saying Maya Johnson might actually be Marcus Wellington's biological daughter? Crystal dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. I'm saying it's possible. Nicole was always secretive about Maya's real father. She claimed it was a man who left before Maya was born, but what if that was a lie? What if Marcus is the father and they've been hiding it all along? Marcus's hands clenched into fists. That woman, he muttered. That lying manipulative. His phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Don't react. Don't call anyone. Don't do anything. Let Stone think his plan is working. Marcus forced himself to breathe. The interview continued. Crystal painted herself as a concerned aunt wrongly accused, desperate to protect her niece from a manipulative millionaire who had orchestrated the entire situation for his own gain. It was masterful. Disgusting, but masterful. Then the anchor said something that made Marcus's heart stop. We've just received word that there's someone outside the station who wants to respond to these allegations. Derek Robinson, the late Nicole Johnson's husband, has arrived and is demanding airtime. The screen cut to a live feed outside the station. Derek stood in front of the entrance cameras surrounding him. He looked rough, unshaven, exhausted, but his eyes were clear and his voice was steady. I need to say something, Derek said into the forest of microphones. About my wife, about Crystal Hayes, about the truth. A reporter shouted, Mr. Robinson, did you know about your wife's alleged affair with Marcus Wellington? Derek's jaw tightened. There was no affair. My wife and Marcus Wellington were friends. Best friends. They grew up together, went to school together, supported each other through every hardship, but they were never romantic. Nicole loved me, she married me, She was faithful to me every single day of our marriage. Then how do you explain Ms. Hayes' allegations? I explain them the same way I explain everything Crystal Hayes has ever done. She's a liar, she's a manipulator, and she's been trying to steal my wife's estate since the moment Nicole was diagnosed with cancer. The reporters erupted with questions, but Derek held up his hand. Let me finish. Crystal showed up at our house the day after the funeral. She said she was there to help. Instead, she got me drunk, isolated me from my stepdaughter, and tried to get me to sign documents that would have transferred everything Nicole built to her name. She assaulted my daughter. She stole my wife's jewelry. And when she got caught, she decided to burn everything down by attacking Nicole's memory. Mr. Robinson, what about the paternity question? Is there any possibility? Maya is not Marcus Wellington's daughter. Derek's voice was hard. Maya's biological father was a man named James Carter, who abandoned Nicole before Maya was even born. Marcus stepped up as a friend, as family, but never as anything more, and anyone who says otherwise is lying. A reporter pushed closer. Ms. Hayes claims Nicole confided in her about the affair. Derek laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Nicole hadn't spoken to Crystal in 7 years. 7 years. Because Crystal tried to forge their grandmother's will and steal Nicole's inheritance the first time. Nicole cut her out of her life completely. There were no confessions. There were no heart-to-heart conversations. Crystal is making it all up because she's desperate and she knows she's going to prison. The cameras flashed. The reporters shouted more questions. Derek looked directly into the lens. Marcus Wellington is not a perfect man. Nobody is. But he kept a promise to my dying wife. He protected my daughter when I was too weak to do it myself. And I will not stand by while Crystal Hayes destroys the memory of the woman I loved to save herself from the consequences of her own crimes. He turned and walked away, ignoring the chaos behind him. Marcus sat back on the couch, stunned. Derek Robinson, the drunk, the failure, the man who had thrown his own stepdaughter out of the house. That man had just gone on live television and defended Nicole's honor. Marcus's phone rang. Patricia, are you watching the... I'm watching. Stone didn't see this coming. Neither did Crystal. Look at her face. Marcus looked at the screen. It had cut back to Crystal in the interview room. Her composure was cracking. Her eyes were darting. She was realizing that her ambush had been counter-ambushed. This doesn't end the fight, Patricia said, but it changes the narrative. Derek Robinson just became our most important witness. Marcus nodded slowly. Get him to my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We need to prepare him for the hearing. Already on it. Marcus hung up and sat in the quiet living room processing everything that had just happened. Upstairs, he heard Maya laughing at something Mrs. Chen said during her bath. That sound, that beautiful, innocent sound, it was worth everything. Every attack, every lie, every battle yet to come. He would protect that sound with his life. The next morning, 8:47 a.m., Derek arrived at Marcus's office. He looked better than he had the night before. Showered, shaved, wearing a clean shirt that was slightly too big, like he'd lost weight. Marcus met him in the lobby. Thank you, Marcus said, for last night. You didn't have to do that. Derek shook his head. Yes, I did. I've been running from my responsibilities for too long. It's time I started facing them. They walked into the conference room together. Patricia was already there, along with Michael Turner, the litigation specialist, and Detective Maria Santos, who had been building the fraud case against Crystal. Mr. Robinson, Patricia began, we need to prepare you for what's coming. Stone is going to attack your credibility. He's going to bring up your drinking, your behavior after Nicole's death, the way you treated Maya. He's going to try to make you look like an unstable witness. Derek's jaw tightened. Let him. I'm not hiding from what I did. I was a drunk, I was abusive, I failed my family, but I'm getting help now, and I'm going to keep getting help. And nothing Stone says is going to change the truth about Crystal. Detective Santos leaned forward. Mr. Robinson, I need to ask you some questions about the documents Crystal had you sign. Do you remember what they said? I was drunk. I barely remember signing them. That's actually helpful. If you were intoxicated, any contracts you signed may be voidable, but I need you to think carefully. Did Crystal ever explain what the documents were for? Derek rubbed his temples. She said they were temporary arrangements. Something about managing Nicole's estate until I was feeling better. She said it was just paperwork. Did she ever mention Maya specifically? Derek froze. Yes. His voice dropped. She said Maya might need special care. Professional care. She said there were facilities that could help her deal with her trauma. I thought she was talking about therapy, but now Now you realize she was talking about having Maya removed from your custody entirely. Derek's face went pale. Oh God, I almost let her. You didn't, Marcus said firmly. Maya is safe. That's what matters now. The door opened. Marcus's assistant, Anna Roberts, stepped in with an urgent expression. Mr. Wellington, there's someone here to see you. She says it's about the Hayes case. Who is it? She says her name is Carla White. She says she has information about Crystal Hayes that could change everything. The room went silent. Carla White. The name Crystal had mentioned in the bar that night, according to Detective Santos's surveillance, the woman who had slipped documents into Crystal's purse. Marcus looked at Patricia. She nodded. Send her in? Carla White was younger than Marcus expected. 28, maybe 30, blonde hair that was clearly dyed, heavy makeup that didn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. She walked into the conference room like she was walking to her own execution. I want immunity, she said before anyone could speak. Full immunity. In exchange, I'll tell you everything. Detective Santos raised an eyebrow. That depends on what you have to tell us. Carla sat down heavily in the nearest chair. Crystal Hayes didn't just come up with this scheme on her own. She's part of a network, a group of people who target wealthy families after a death. Insurance money, property, trusts. They've done it dozens of times across 3 states. The room went very still. I was her assistant, Carla continued. I helped her with the paperwork. I transferred the money. I set up the shell companies. But I never knew about the violence. I never knew she was going to hurt that little girl. When I saw the news, when I saw what she did to Maya, Carla's voice broke. I have a daughter. She's 4. The same age Maya was when Crystal started planning this. When I think about someone doing that to my baby... She pulled a flash drive from her purse and placed it on the table. Everything is on here. Names, dates, account numbers, all of Crystal's partners, all of her previous victims. Everything you need to bring down the whole network. Detective Santos picked up the flash drive carefully. Why now? Why come forward? Carla looked at Marcus with red-rimmed eyes. Because I saw what you did. I saw you take that little girl in. I saw Derek Robinson stand up on television and defend his dead wife. I saw people actually fighting for what's right instead of just looking out for themselves. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I want to be on the right side for once, even if it means going to prison. At least my daughter will know I tried to fix my mistakes. Marcus studied her for a long moment. Patricia, get the district attorney on the phone. Tell them we have a witness who wants to cooperate. Patricia was already dialing. Marcus turned back to Carla. If what you're telling us is true, you just saved a lot of families from going through what Maya went through. That matters. It doesn't erase what you did, but it matters. Carla nodded, tears streaming down her face. Tell Maya I'm sorry. I know she doesn't know who I am, but tell her anyway. Tell her I'm sorry I was part of the machine that tried to destroy her family. 2 hours later, the flash drive had been verified. Carla's information was explosive. Crystal Hayes was connected to 11 other fraud cases across New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The network had stolen over $12 million from grieving families over the past 7 years, and Jerome Watts, the family attorney who had helped Crystal with the documents, was the ringleader. Detective Santos called in federal authorities. By noon, arrest warrants were being issued. By 2 o'clock, Jerome Watts was in handcuffs. By 4 o'clock, Reginald Stone withdrew as Crystal's attorney. Marcus got the call from Patricia while he was picking Maya up from her therapy session with Dr. Angela Barnes. Stone is out. He filed a motion to withdraw citing irreconcilable differences with his client, which is lawyer speak for I didn't know she was this dirty and I don't want to go down with her. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. What does this mean for the hearing? It means Crystal has to find new representation in less than a week. It means her entire defense strategy just collapsed. And it means the paternity test demand is going to look like exactly what it was, a desperate distraction from her crimes. Maya tugged at Marcus's hand. Uncle Marcus, is everything okay? Marcus knelt down to her level. Everything is very okay, sweetheart. The bad people are getting caught, and Aunt Crystal isn't going to be able to hurt anyone anymore. Maya's face lit up. Really? It's really over. Not completely over. There's still a court hearing next week, but we're winning, Maya. We're winning. Maya threw her arms around his neck. I told you Mama was watching out for us. Marcus hugged her back, his throat tight. You were right, sweetheart. You were absolutely right. That night, 7:30 p.m., Marcus got an unexpected visitor. He was helping Maya with her homework when Mrs. Chen announced that someone was at the door. A woman named Ruth Williams. Mrs. Ruth, the neighbor from Harlem. Marcus found her standing in his foyer holding a covered dish and looking like she had something important to say. "Mrs. Ruth, please come in. Is everything okay?" Mrs. Ruth walked into the living room with the confidence of a woman who had seen everything and feared nothing. "I brought peach cobbler," she said, handing the dish to Mrs. Chen. "Maya's favorite. But that's not why I'm here." She reached into her purse and pulled out a worn envelope. "Nicole gave me this 3 days before she died. She made me promise not to open it unless something went wrong. Really wrong. I think we're past that point now." Marcus took the envelope. His name was written on the front in Nicole's handwriting. "What is it?" "I don't know. She sealed it and told me to guard it with my life. Said it was insurance. Said you'd know what to do with it when the time came." Marcus carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small USB drive. The paper was a handwritten letter. "Dear Marcus," he read aloud. His voice trembling. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone and things have gotten bad. I know Crystal will come. She always does. And I know she'll try to take everything from Maya. But what she doesn't know is that I've been keeping records. Every threat she ever made, every time she tried to manipulate our grandmother, every suspicious transaction she's ever been connected to. It's all on the drive. I couldn't go to the police while I was alive. I was too sick, too tired, too scared. But you're not. You're the strongest person I know. Use this, Marcus. Protect my baby. And know that wherever I am, I'm watching over both of you. Love always, Nicole." Marcus stared at the letter tears blurring his vision. Nicole had known. She had known Crystal would come. She had prepared for it even while she was dying. "Uncle Marcus," Maya was standing in the doorway, her homework forgotten. "Is that from Mama?" Marcus quickly wiped his eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, it's from your mama." "What does it say?" Marcus looked at the letter at the USB drive at the beautiful, brave little girl who had her mother's eyes. "It says she loves you, and she's been protecting you all along, even from heaven." Maya smiled through her own tears. "I knew it. I knew Mama wouldn't leave me alone." She ran to Marcus and hugged him tight. Mrs. Ruth wiped her eyes with a handkerchief. "That girl loved you both more than life itself. Don't let her down." "Never," Marcus whispered, holding Maya close. "I will never let her down." The next morning, 9:00 a.m., Marcus delivered Nicole's evidence to the district attorney. The USB drive contained everything Nicole had promised. Years of documentation, recorded phone calls, screenshots of threatening messages, bank records showing Crystal's connections to Jerome Watts going back over a decade. By noon, the charges against Crystal Hayes had been upgraded. Fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, child endangerment, and now racketeering. She was looking at 30 years to life. Marcus called Derek with the news. "It's over," Marcus said. "Nicole won. Even from the grave she won." Derek was silent for a long moment. That woman, that incredible woman, she never stopped fighting, did she? No, she never did. "Marcus, I need to tell you something. I've been talking to my therapist about Maya, about custody, about the future." Marcus tensed. "And I'm not ready. I know that now. I'm not ready to be her father again. Not full time. Maybe not for a long time, but I don't want to disappear from her life either." "She's telling me is. What are you suggesting?" "Joint custody. When I'm ready, for now she stays with you. You're her guardian, her protector, her family. But I want to be part of her life too. Visits, holidays, birthdays. I want to earn back the right to be her father one day at a time." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. "I think Maya would like that. She still loves you, Derek, despite everything." "I know, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that love." When Marcus got home that evening, Maya was waiting for him at the door. "Uncle Marcus, Daddy Derek called. He said he's coming to visit next week. He said he's going to bring me a present." Marcus smiled. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. And Mrs. Ruth said she's going to make Sunday dinner for everyone. You, me, Daddy, Derek, Mrs. Chen, everybody." Maya grabbed his hand and dragged him inside. "We're going to be a family again, Uncle Marcus. A different kind of family, but still a family. Mama said families come in all shapes and sizes. She said what matters is the love, not the shape." Marcus knelt down and hugged her. "Your mama was the wisest person I ever knew." "I know," Maya said proudly. "That's why I'm going to be just like her when I grow up." "I think you already are, sweetheart. I think you already are." Outside, the sun was setting over Brooklyn, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. And somewhere far away beyond the clouds and the grief and the battles yet to be won, Nicole Johnson watched over her daughter and smiled. The war wasn't over yet. There was still a hearing to face, still a verdict to deliver, still a future to build. But tonight, in this moment, there was peace. There was a little girl who believed in miracles. There was a man who kept his promises. And there was a mother's love that death itself could not destroy. The morning of the final hearing arrived on a cold Tuesday in November, exactly 6 weeks after Nicole Johnson was buried in Woodlawn Cemetery. Marcus woke at 5:00 a.m. unable to sleep. He had spent the past 2 weeks preparing for this day, reviewing evidence, rehearsing testimony, anticipating every possible attack from Crystal's new attorney. But nothing could fully prepare him for the weight of what was at stake. Today, a judge would decide Maya's future. At 6:30 a.m., Maya appeared in his doorway, still in her pajamas, Honey the teddy bear clutched against her chest. "I can't sleep either," she said quietly. Marcus held out his hand. "Come here, sweetheart." Maya crossed the room and climbed onto the bed beside him. She leaned against his shoulder, her small body warm and solid and real. "Are you scared?" she asked. "A little? Are you?" Maya thought about it. "Not really. Mama said you always win." Marcus smiled despite himself. "I don't always win, but I always fight as hard as I can." "That's the same thing, Shreeze," Maya said with the absolute certainty of a 6-year-old. "If you fight as hard as you can, that's winning, even if the other person gets more points." Marcus looked down at this remarkable child who had been through more in 6 weeks than most people experienced in a lifetime. "When did you get so wise? I learned it from Mama, and from you." They sat together in the early morning quiet, watching the sun rise over Brooklyn through the window. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them needed to. At 7:45 a.m., Mrs. Ruth arrived with breakfast. She had driven down from Harlem at dawn, refusing to let Maya face this day on an empty stomach. She bustled into Marcus's kitchen and started cooking like she owned the place. "Eggs, bacon toast, and fresh orange juice," she announced. "Maya, you're going to eat every bite. You need your strength." "I'm not hungry, Mrs. Ruth." "Child, I didn't ask if you were hungry. I said you're going to eat. There's a difference." Maya managed a small smile. "Yes, ma'am?" Derek arrived at 8:15 a.m. He looked different than he had 2 weeks ago. Cleaner, steadier. He had been attending AA meetings twice a day and seeing a therapist every afternoon. The darkness that had consumed him after Nicole's death was still there, but it was no longer in control. "Hey, princess," he said softly when he saw Maya. Maya looked at him for a long moment. Then she walked across the room and hugged him. Derek's face crumpled. He held her tight, his shoulders shaking, but he didn't cry. He had promised himself he wouldn't cry in front of her today. "I'm proud of you, Daddy," Maya whispered. Derek pulled back and looked at her with wonder. "You're proud of me. You're trying. You're really trying. Mama would be happy." Derek had to turn away for a moment to compose himself. Marcus watched them together and felt something ease in his chest. This was what Nicole would have wanted. Not a perfect family, but a healing one. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of hope. At 9:00 a.m., they left for the courthouse. Patricia met them in the lobby of the Manhattan Family Court building. She was carrying 2 thick folders and wearing her sharpest gray suit. "Crystal's new attorney is Victor Huang," she reported. "He's good, but he's not stone. He took the case as a favor to someone, and I don't think his heart is in it." "What about Crystal herself?" "She's been in custody since the federal charges came down. They're transporting her from Rikers for the hearing. She'll be in the courtroom, but she won't be able to do much damage." Marcus nodded. "And the judge?" "Same one, Evelyn Crawford. She's reviewed all the new evidence, including Nicole's files. She's not happy about what she's seen." Derek stepped forward. "What do you need from me?" Patricia looked at him with something approaching respect. "Your testimony. About Nicole, about your marriage, about what Crystal did to your family. Can you handle that?" Derek's jaw tightened. "I can handle anything if it helps Maya." "Good, because Huang is probably going to try to paint you as an unreliable witness. He'll bring up the drinking, the abuse, everything. You need to stay calm and tell the truth. Can you do that?" "I've been practicing with my therapist. I'm ready." Patricia turned to Maya. "Sweetheart, the judge might want to ask you some questions too. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to. And if you get scared, just look at Uncle Marcus. He'll be right there the whole time." Maya straightened her shoulders. "I'm not scared. I'm going to tell the truth about Aunt Crystal, just like Mama taught me." Patricia smiled. "You're the bravest person in this building." At 9:47 a.m., they entered the courtroom. It was fuller than Marcus had expected. Reporters filled the back rows. Social workers and court officials lined the sides. At the plaintiff's table, Patricia and her team were already setting up, and at the defendant's table sat Crystal Hayes. She was wearing orange prison jumpsuit. Her wrists were cuffed to a chain around her waist. Her hair was limp, her makeup gone, her confident smile replaced by something desperate and feral. When she saw Maya walk in, her eyes lit up with a hatred so intense that Marcus instinctively stepped between them. "Don't look at her," Marcus murmured to Maya. "She can't hurt you anymore." Maya didn't look. She walked straight to the plaintiff's table and sat down with her back straight and her chin high. Victor Huang approached the bench as Judge Crawford took her seat. He was a slender man in his 50s, meticulously dressed with the weary air of someone who knew he was fighting a losing battle. "Your Honor, before we begin, I'd like to request that my client's restraints be removed. This is a civil custody hearing, not a criminal trial." Judge Crawford looked at Crystal, then at the armed guards standing by the door. "Given the federal charges pending against Ms. Hayes, I'm going to deny that request. The restraints stay." Crystal's face twisted with rage, but Huang placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "Your Honor, I'd also like to note for the record that my client maintains her innocence on all charges. The evidence submitted by the plaintiff has been obtained through questionable means, and we intend to challenge its admissibility." "Noted," Judge Crawford said dryly. "But given that the FBI has already verified the authenticity of the evidence, I'm going to allow it. Mr. Huang is your client, prepared to proceed." Huang glanced at Crystal, who was staring at Marcus with undisguised hatred. "We are, Your Honor." "Very well. Ms. Okonkwo, you may call your first witness." Patricia stood. "The plaintiff calls Derek Robinson to the stand." Derek walked to the witness box with measured steps. He was sweating. Marcus could see that, even from across the room, but his voice was steady when he took the oath. "Mr. Robinson," Patricia began, "can you describe your relationship with the late Nicole Johnson?" "Nicole was my wife. We were married for 4 years before she passed. She was the love of my life." "And your relationship with Maya Johnson?" Derek's voice caught. "Maya is my daughter, not by blood, but by every other measure. I married Nicole when Maya was 2 years old. I raised her. I read her bedtime stories. I taught her to ride a bike. I was there for every birthday, every holiday, every nightmare. She called me Daddy because that's what I was." "Mr. Robinson, can you tell the court what happened after Nicole's death?" Derek closed his eyes for a moment. "I fell apart. Nicole's death destroyed me. I started drinking. I stopped caring about anything, including myself, including Maya. I said things I didn't mean. I did things I can never take back." "Can you be more specific?" Derek's hands gripped the rail of the witness box. "I threw Maya out of our house. I called her a burden. I let Crystal manipulate me into signing documents I didn't understand. I failed my wife, and I failed my daughter." "Why are you telling us this, Mr. Robinson?" Derek looked at Maya. "Because Maya deserves the truth. Because I'm trying to become the man Nicole believed I could be, and because Crystal Hayes used my weakness to try to destroy my family." "Can you describe Crystal's actions after Nicole's funeral?" "She showed up the day of the funeral, said she was there to help. Instead, she got me drunk, isolated Maya, and started preparing documents to transfer Nicole's entire estate to herself. She told me lies about Marcus Wellington. She told me Maya would be better off in foster care. She made me believe I was doing the right thing by pushing everyone away." "Did you know what you were signing?" "No, I was drunk. I couldn't think straight. Crystal put papers in front of me and told me where to sign. I trusted her. I shouldn't have." Victor Huang rose for cross-examination. "Mr. Robinson, you've admitted to being an alcoholic. How can this court trust anything you say?" Derek didn't flinch. "You can trust me because I'm sober now. Because I've been sober for 3 weeks. Because I'm in treatment and I'm committed to recovery. And because everything I've said can be verified by other witnesses and evidence." "But your judgment was clearly impaired during the events in question. How do we know Crystal wasn't genuinely trying to help you?" "Because I know the difference between help and manipulation. Crystal never asked what I needed. She never tried to get me into treatment. She never suggested I see Maya's therapist or attend grief counseling. All she did was pour me drinks and put documents in front of me. That's not help. That's exploitation." Huang pressed on. "Isn't it possible that you're blaming my client for your own failures?" Derek's voice hardened. "I take full responsibility for my failures. But Crystal didn't just take advantage of a grieving man. She assaulted a 6-year-old child. She stole from a dead woman. She planned to steal an entire estate and throw a little girl into the foster system. Those aren't my failures. Those are her crimes." The courtroom was silent. Judge Crawford made a note. "Mr. Huang, do you have any further questions?" Huang glanced at Crystal, who was furiously scribbling notes on a legal pad. "No further questions, Your Honor." Derek returned to his seat. As he passed Maya, she reached out and squeezed his hand. "You did good, Daddy," she whispered. Derek's eyes filled with tears, but he smiled. At 10:45 a.m., Patricia called her next witness. The plaintiff calls Carla White. Carla walked to the stand in a simple blue dress. She looked terrified, but she had made a deal with the prosecutors, and she intended to keep it. "Ms. White, can you describe your relationship with Crystal Hayes?" "I was her assistant. I helped her with paperwork, logistics, communications. I did whatever she told me to do." "And what exactly did she tell you to do?" Carla took a deep breath. "Crystal runs a network, a group of people who target wealthy families after a death. We identify vulnerable targets, usually widows, widowers, elderly people with money. We move and gain their trust, and then we take everything we can. I helped set up shell companies to hide the money. I forged documents. I transferred assets." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Crawford banged her gavel. "How many families has this network targeted?" "At least 11 that I know of, maybe more. Nicole Johnson was supposed to be the biggest score yet." "Why Nicole Johnson?" Carla looked at Crystal. "Because of the brownstone. It's worth over $2 million. And because Crystal had a personal vendetta. She hated Nicole. She blamed her for stealing their grandmother's inheritance. This wasn't just about money for Crystal, it was about revenge." "Ms. White, why are you testifying today?" Carla's voice cracked. "Because I saw what Crystal did to that little girl. When I heard about Maya being thrown out of her home, something broke inside me. I have a daughter of my own. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try to make things right." Victor Huang stood for cross-examination. "Ms. White, isn't it true that you're testifying in exchange for a reduced sentence?" "Yes." "So you have a personal incentive to say whatever the prosecution wants you to say." Carla met his gaze steadily. "I'm telling the truth, every word, and I have evidence to back it up. Financial records, emails, recordings. I gave it all to the FBI. If I was lying, they would know." Huang had no response. At 11:30 a.m., the prosecution called their final witness. The plaintiff calls Maya Johnson. Marcus's heart clenched. They had discussed this. Maya had insisted she wanted to testify, but watching her small form walk to the witness stand, he felt physically ill with fear. Maya climbed into the witness chair, which was much too big for her. Her feet didn't touch the floor. She clutched Honey tightly against her chest. Judge Crawford leaned forward, her voice gentle. "Maya, do you understand why you're here today?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm here to tell the truth about what happened." "And do you know what telling the truth means?" "It means saying what really happened, even if it's hard. Mama always said the truth is important, even when it hurts." Judge Crawford smiled softly. "Your mama was a wise woman. Now there are some lawyers here who are going to ask you questions. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to. And if you need a break, just tell me, okay?" "Okay." Patricia approached the stand, slowly keeping her voice warm. "Maya, can you tell us what happened on the night you left your home in Harlem?" Maya took a deep breath. "I was in my room. I heard Daddy Derek yelling. He was saying mean things about me. He said I wasn't his real daughter. He said I was a burden. Then he grabbed my arm and pulled me to the door. He pushed me outside. My suitcase broke open and all my clothes fell on the ground." "How did that make you feel?" "Scared. Really scared. I didn't understand why Daddy was being so mean. He never used to be like that. Before Mama died, he was nice. He read me stories and made me pancakes. I didn't know why he changed." "What happened after you were pushed outside?" "Uncle Marcus came. He picked me up and took me to his house. He said Mama asked him to take care of me. He said I was safe now." "Maya, I need to ask you about your Aunt Crystal. Can you tell us how she treated you?" Maya's small body tensed. She looked at Crystal, who was staring at her with an expression that made Marcus want to vault over the table and shield her. "Aunt Crystal was mean," Maya said quietly. "She smiled a lot, but it wasn't a real smile. It was a fake smile. She said bad things about Mama. She said Mama was a thief. She said the house was supposed to be hers." "Did Aunt Crystal ever hurt you physically?" Maya touched her cheek. "She hit me, in the kitchen, because I said she was stealing Mama's things. She grabbed my chin really hard and told me to shut up. She said if I told anyone, she'd make me sorry." "Were you scared of her?" "Yes, but I was more scared of losing Daddy Derek. I thought if I was really good and really quiet, maybe he would love me again. I didn't know Aunt Crystal was making him worse on purpose." Patricia paused. "Maya, do you want to stay with Uncle Marcus?" Maya nodded firmly. Yes, Uncle Marcus takes care of me. He makes sure I eat breakfast and do my homework. He comes to my room when I have nightmares. He's never mean to me, not even when I'm sad or cranky. And what about Daddy Derek? Maya looked at Derek. I want Daddy Derek in my life too, but I want him to get better first. I don't want to live with him until he stops being sick. Is that okay? The courtroom was completely silent. Judge Crawford's voice was thick when she spoke. Yes, Maya, that's very okay. Victor Huang approached for cross-examination. Marcus tensed. If this man tried to bully Maya, Marcus would. But Huang surprised everyone. Maya, I only have one question. Do you think your Aunt Crystal loves you? Maya considered this seriously. I think Aunt Crystal loves herself. I don't think she loves anyone else. Mama said some people are like that. They pretend to care, but they only care about what they can get from you. Huang nodded slowly. Thank you, Maya. No further questions. He returned to his seat. Crystal was hissing something at him, but he didn't respond. At 12:15 p.m., Judge Crawford called for a lunch recess. Marcus walked Maya out of the courtroom, his hand on her shoulder. She was shaking slightly, but her eyes were dry. You were incredible, he told her. I've never seen anyone that brave. I was scared, Maya admitted. But I kept thinking about what Mama would do. Mama was never scared of anything. Mrs. Ruth met them in the hallway with sandwiches and juice boxes. That child just put grown lawyers to shame, she declared. Nicole is smiling down from heaven right now. Derek joined them, looking shell-shocked. Maya, I don't know what to say. Hearing you talk about what I did... It's okay, Daddy. It already happened. We can't change it. We can only do better now. Derek knelt down and took her hands. I'm going to do better. Every single day, I swear to you. Maya kissed his cheek. I know, Daddy. I believe you. At 1:30 p.m., court resumed. Judge Crawford looked at Victor Huang. Does the defense wish to call any witnesses? Huang glanced at Crystal, who was practically vibrating with rage. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Crystal Hayes. The guards helped Crystal shuffle to the witness stand. Her chains clinked with every step. Ms. Hayes, Huang began reluctantly, can you tell the court your version of events? Crystal straightened in her seat. Despite the orange jumpsuit and the restraints, she projected an air of wounded dignity. Everything they've said is lies, she declared. I was trying to help my brother-in-law. He was falling apart after Nicole's death. Someone had to step in. Someone had to manage the estate, take care of the paperwork, make sure the bills got paid. And what about the allegations of assault and theft? Lies? All lies. I never hit that child. I never stole anything. Nicole's jewelry was going to be lost or damaged. I was keeping it safe. The documents I prepared were standard estate management forms. Derek knew exactly what he was signing. Ms. Hayes, what about the evidence provided by Carla White? Crystal's face twisted. Carla is a liar. She's trying to save herself by making up stories about me. There is no network. There is no fraud. I am a victim of a coordinated attack by Marcus Wellington, who has been plotting to steal my sister's estate since she was diagnosed with cancer. Marcus felt Patricia's hand on his arm, warning him not to react. Your Honor, Crystal continued, her voice rising. Marcus Wellington was having an affair with my sister. He's the real father of that child. He manipulated Nicole into giving him control of everything. He turned my own family against me. Everything that's happened is his fault. Judge Crawford's expression hadn't changed. Ms. Hayes, the paternity test results came back yesterday. Would you like me to share them with the court? Crystal froze. The test conclusively proves that Marcus Wellington is not Maya's biological father. The child's DNA matches Nicole Johnson and an unnamed male donor who has since been identified as James Carter, currently residing in California. The color drained from Crystal's face. Furthermore, Judge Crawford continued, the FBI has verified the authenticity of the evidence provided by Nicole Johnson's files. They have confirmed that the fraud network described by Ms. White has been operating for at least 7 years and has defrauded 11 families of a combined $12 million. Ms. Hayes' fingerprints were found on the original documents. Crystal's composure shattered completely. This is a setup, she screamed. Marcus Wellington paid them off. He bought the FBI. He bought everyone. Nicole was always his favorite. She stole everything from me, the house. Grandma's love, everything, and now she's still stealing from me, even though she's dead. The guards moved toward her as she struggled against her restraints. I deserve that house. I deserve that money. Nicole was a thief and a liar, and I'm glad she's dead. I'm glad, do you hear me? I'm glad. Judge Crawford banged her gavel repeatedly. "Remove the defendant from the courtroom." Crystal screamed obscenities as the guards dragged her toward the door. "You'll pay for this, Marcus. You'll all pay. Maya should have been thrown in the street. She should have—" The door slammed shut, cutting off her voice. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Maya had buried her face in Marcus's chest. He held her tight, one hand stroking her hair. "It's over," he whispered. "It's finally over." Judge Crawford took a long moment to compose herself. "In my 20 years on this bench, I have never witnessed a defendant destroy their own case so thoroughly. The court will take a 30-minute recess before delivering the verdict." At 2:45 p.m., everyone returned to their seats. Judge Crawford looked exhausted, but resolute. "This case has been one of the most disturbing I've ever presided over. A dying woman's estate was targeted by her own sister. A grieving husband was manipulated into abandoning his child. A 6-year-old girl was assaulted, terrorized, and very nearly thrown into a system that might never have returned her to safety." She looked at Crystal's empty chair. "Crystal Hayes will face federal charges for fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy. That is not my jurisdiction. What is my jurisdiction is the welfare of Maya Johnson." She turned to Marcus. "Mr. Wellington, you stepped in when this child had no one else. You kept a promise to a dying friend. You provided stability, safety, and love when Maya needed it most. This court grants you permanent guardianship of Maya Johnson, effective immediately." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't bother to wipe them. "Mr. Robinson," Judge Crawford continued, "your road to recovery is just beginning. This court recognizes your efforts to become a better man. Therefore, I am granting you supervised visitation rights to be reviewed in 6 months. If you continue your treatment and demonstrate sustained sobriety, we will revisit the possibility of shared custody." Derek nodded, tears running down his own face. "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you." Judge Crawford looked at Maya. "And Maya, sweetheart, you are the bravest person I've ever met. Your mother would be so proud of you. This court orders that the brownstone in Harlem remain in your trust until you reach the age of 18. No one can touch it. No one can take it from you. It's yours, Maya, just like your mother wanted." Maya lifted her head from Marcus's chest. "Can I say something?" she asked. Judge Crawford smiled. "Of course." Maya stood up. She looked around the courtroom at the reporters and the lawyers and the social workers and all the people who had come to watch her story unfold. "I just want to say thank you to Uncle Marcus for keeping his promise, to Daddy Derek for trying to get better, to Mrs. Ruth for always making me feel safe, and to my mama wherever she is." Maya's voice strengthened. "Mama always said that bad things happen sometimes, but good things can happen too. She said the world has mean people in it, but it also has kind people. She said the trick is to find the kind people and hold on tight." She looked at Marcus. "I found them, Mama, just like you said I would." The courtroom erupted in applause. Reporters were crying. Social workers were hugging each other. Even Judge Crawford wiped her eyes. Marcus knelt down and wrapped Maya in his arms. "Your mama was right," he whispered. "She was right about everything." At 4:00 p.m., they walked out of the courthouse together. The sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. But Marcus didn't hear any of it. All he heard was Maya's voice asking him one simple question. "Can we get ice cream, Uncle Marcus?" Marcus laughed. It was the first real laugh he'd had in weeks. "Yes, sweetheart, we can get ice cream." Derek walked beside them, looking lighter than Marcus had ever seen him. "Can I come too?" he asked quietly. Maya looked at him. Then she reached out and took his hand. "Of course, Daddy. Your family." Mrs. Ruth walked behind them, wiping her eyes and muttering something about children being too wise for their own good. And somewhere far beyond the courtroom and the cameras and the chaos, Nicole Johnson watched over her daughter and smiled. The battle was over. The war had been won. And Maya Johnson, 6 years old, and braver than any adult she knew, walked into the sunset holding hands with the 2 men who would spend the rest of their lives keeping her safe. 6 months had passed since the courthouse verdict, and spring had finally arrived in New York City. Maya Johnson stood in the kitchen of Marcus Wellington's Brooklyn brownstone flour, covering her hands and most of her face, trying to follow Mrs. Chen's instructions for making chocolate chip cookies. "Not so much flour, sweetheart," Mrs. Chen laughed. "You're making cookies, not a snowstorm." "I want them to be perfect," Maya said seriously. "It's Daddy Derek's 1-year anniversary." 1 year sober, 365 days without a drink. Derek had earned his medallion that morning at his AA meeting, and tonight they were throwing him a celebration. Marcus walked into the kitchen, still wearing his suit from the office. He stopped when he saw Maya covered head to toe in baking ingredients. "I see the cooking is going well," he said dryly. Maya grinned. "Mrs. Chen says I'm a natural disaster in the kitchen." "I said natural," Mrs. Chen corrected. "The disaster part was implied." Marcus laughed. It was a sound that had become more frequent in the past 6 months. The heaviness that had weighed on him since Nicole's death had lifted, replaced by something lighter, something that felt remarkably like happiness. "Is everything ready for tonight?" he asked. Maya nodded vigorously. "Mrs. Ruth is bringing peach cobbler. Patricia is bringing wine for the grown-ups. And Daddy Derek doesn't know anything. It's a surprise." "Good. Let's keep it that way." At 5:30 p.m., Derek arrived. He walked through the door looking healthier than Marcus had ever seen him. He had gained back the weight he'd lost during his drinking days. His eyes were clear. His hands were steady. He was working again back at his old construction job, and he had recently been promoted to foreman. "Happy Tuesday," Derek said casually, hanging up his jacket. "What's for dinner? Surprise?" Maya launched herself at him from behind the couch, nearly knocking him off his feet. Mrs. Ruth emerged from the kitchen with a cake. Patricia popped a bottle of champagne. Mrs. Chen unfurled a banner that read, "1 year strong." Derek stood frozen, his mouth open. "You didn't think we'd forget, did you?" Marcus asked. Derek's eyes filled with tears. I didn't think anyone would." "Daddy, don't cry," Maya said, tugging on his hand. "This is supposed to be happy." Derek knelt down and hugged her tight. "These are happy tears, Princess. The happiest tears I've ever cried." The celebration lasted for hours. They ate Mrs. Chen's famous lasagna. They devoured Mrs. Ruth's peach cobbler. Maya presented Derek with a handmade card that read "Best Daddy Ever" in glitter and crayon. Derek looked at the card for a long time. His voice was thick when he finally spoke. "I don't deserve this. Any of it." "That's not true," Marcus said firmly. "You worked for this. Every day for a year you chose to be better. That's not nothing. That's everything." Derek looked around the room at the people who had become his family. Mrs. Ruth, who had known Nicole since childhood. Patricia, who had fought for Maya in court. Mrs. Chen, who had opened her heart to all of them. And Marcus, who had every reason to hate him, but had chosen forgiveness instead. "I used to think family was about blood," Derek said slowly. "About who you were born to, who you were stuck with. But that's not true, is it? Family is about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you even when you can't fight for yourself." Mrs. Ruth raised her glass. "To family." "To family, Ania," everyone echoed. Maya clinked her juice box against Derek's water glass. "To Mama," she added quietly, "for putting us all together." Derek's hand trembled slightly. He closed his eyes for a moment. "To Nicole," he whispered, "the woman who saw the best in me even when I couldn't see it myself." The room fell silent. Then Mrs. Ruth started singing. It was "You Are My Sunshine," the song Nicole used to sing to Maya every night. One by one, the others joined in, even Marcus, who couldn't carry a tune to save his life. Maya's eyes glistened, but she was smiling. "Mama's listening," she said confidently. "I can feel her." No one argued with her. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Maya had fallen asleep on the couch, Marcus and Derek sat together on the back porch. The city hummed in the distance. A cool breeze carried the scent of spring flowers. "I've been thinking," Derek said. "About what?" "About the future, about what comes next." He paused. "The judge said we could revisit custody arrangements after 6 months. It's been 6 months. Marcus felt his stomach tighten, and Derek turned to look at him. "I'm not going to fight you for her, Marcus. I know that's what you're worried about. I can see it in your face every time the subject comes up." Marcus didn't deny it. "She's happy here. She's stable. She's doing well in school. I don't want to disrupt that." "Neither do I." Derek took a deep breath. "But I also don't want to be a weekend dad forever. I want to be part of her daily life. I want to take her to school in the morning and help her with homework at night. I want to be there for the ordinary moments, not just the special occasions." Marcus was silent for a long moment. "What are you proposing? Shared custody. Real shared custody. 1 week with you, 1 week with me. She keeps a room at both houses. She has 2 homes, 2 fathers, 1 family." Marcus considered this. Part of him wanted to refuse. Part of him wanted to keep Maya all to himself, to protect her from any possibility of hurt. But another part of him knew that Derek had earned this. The man had worked harder than anyone Marcus had ever seen. He had rebuilt himself from the ground up. He had proven day after day that he was worthy of being called Maya's father. "What does Maya want?" Marcus asked. "I don't know. I haven't asked her yet. I wanted to talk to you first." Marcus nodded slowly. "Then let's ask her together, tomorrow. No pressure, no expectations. We let her decide." Derek's shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you for everything, for not giving up on me when everyone else did." "Nicole never gave up on you. I was just following her lead." Derek smiled sadly. "She was something else, wasn't she? She was everything." They sat in comfortable silence, two men who had once been adversaries now bound together by love for the same woman and the same child. "Marcus, yeah? Do you think she'd be proud of how things turned out?" Marcus looked up at the stars. "I think she orchestrated the whole thing. I think she knew exactly what she was doing when she asked me to watch over Maya. She was giving us both a chance to become the men we were supposed to be." Derek laughed quietly. "That sounds like Nicole, always playing chess while the rest of us were playing checkers." The next morning they sat Maya down at the kitchen table. Her eyes darted between them nervously. "Am I in trouble?" "No, sweetheart," Marcus assured her. "We just want to talk to you about something important." Maya relaxed slightly, but remained wary. "What kind of important?" Derek leaned forward. "Maya, you know how right now you live with Uncle Marcus and I come to visit?" "Yes." "Well, we were thinking maybe we could change that. Maybe you could live with both of us. 1 week here, 1 week at my apartment. You'd have 2 bedrooms, 2 homes. How would you feel about that?" Maya's face was unreadable. She sat very still, processing. "Would I have to choose?" she finally asked. "Choose what, princess? Which one of you I love more? Would I have to choose?" Marcus felt his heart crack. "No, sweetheart. Never. You can love both of us. You can love us equally or differently, or any way you want. This isn't about choosing, it's about having more." Maya was quiet for another long moment. "Can Honey come with me back and forth?" "Of course," Derek said immediately. "Honey goes wherever you go." "And can Mrs. Ruth still come visit me at Daddy Derek's house?" "Anytime she wants." "And can Uncle Marcus still tuck me in at night, even when I'm at Daddy Derek's house?" Marcus and Derek exchanged glances. "We can video call, Ma," Marcus offered. "Every night you're at Daddy Derek's, I'll call and say goodnight. Would that work?" Maya considered this carefully, then her face broke into a smile. "Okay, I want to try it. Mama always said 2 is better than 1. Derek let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Marcus reached over and squeezed Maya's hand. "You're sure you don't have to decide right now?" "I'm sure," Maya said firmly. "I have 2 daddies now. It only makes sense that I have 2 homes." 3 months later, the new arrangement was working better than anyone had expected. Maya thrived with the structure. She had a purple bedroom at Marcus's house and a yellow bedroom at Derek's apartment. She had toys at both places, books at both places, photos of her mother at both places. Every Sunday, they all had dinner together. Marcus, Derek, Maya, Mrs. Ruth, Mrs. Chen, and whoever else wanted to join. It had become a tradition, a weekly reminder, that family was about choice, not circumstance. One Sunday in late summer, Maya made an announcement at dinner. "I have something to tell everyone." The adults exchanged curious looks. "What is it, sweetheart?" Marcus asked. Maya stood up on her chair so everyone could see her. She was wearing the yellow sundress that had been her mother's favorite. "My teacher asked us to write about our families for a school project. I wrote about all of you." She pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket and began to read. "My name is Maya Johnson. I am 7 years old. I have a big family, but not a regular one. My mama is in heaven. She died when I was 6. I miss her every day." The room went quiet. "I have 2 daddies, Uncle Marcus and Daddy Derek. Uncle Marcus is a lawyer. He helped save me when bad things happened. Daddy Derek used to be sick, but he got better. Now he's the strongest person I know." Derek wiped his eyes. "I have 2 grandmas, too. Mrs. Ruth makes the best peach cobbler in the whole world. Mrs. Chen teaches me how to cook, but I'm not very good at it yet." Mrs. Chen laughed through her tears. "Some people think my family is weird because we're not all related by blood, but Mama told me that blood doesn't make you family. Love does, and I have more love than anyone I know." Maya looked up from her paper. The end. No one spoke. Then Mrs. Ruth started clapping. The others joined in. Maya bowed dramatically, nearly falling off her chair. Marcus caught her and pulled her into a hug. "That was beautiful, sweetheart." My teacher said it was the best essay in the class. She wants me to read it at the school assembly next month." "We'll all be there," Derek promised. "Front row." 1 year later, they kept that promise. Maya stood on the stage of her elementary school looking out at a sea of faces. Her entire family sat in the front row, just as Derek had promised. Marcus in his suit, Derek in his cleanest shirt, Mrs. Ruth with her church hat, Mrs. Chen with a tissue already in hand. The auditorium was full of parents and children all there for the annual Family Day celebration. Maya stepped up to the microphone. It was too tall for her and someone had to adjust it down. "Hi," she said. "My name is Maya Johnson. I'm 8 years old, and I want to tell you about my family." She took a deep breath. 2 years ago, my mama died. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I thought my life was over. I thought I would never be happy again. The auditorium was silent. But then something amazing happened. People showed up. Not the people I expected, not the people who were supposed to be my family, but people who chose to love me anyway. She looked at Marcus. My Uncle Marcus kept a promise to my mama. He took me in when I had nowhere to go. He fought for me in court. He reads me bedtime stories and helps me with math homework, even though math is really hard. A ripple of laughter from the audience. My daddy Derek made mistakes, big mistakes. He hurt me when he was sick, but he got better. He fought his way back. And now he's the bravest person I know because it takes more courage to face your problems than to run away from them. Derek was openly crying. He didn't try to hide it. My Mrs. Ruth has known my family since before I was born. She makes the best food and gives the best hugs and always tells me the truth even when it's hard to hear. Mrs. Ruth dabbed her eyes with her handkerchief. My Mrs. Chen takes care of all of us. She says she's just the housekeeper, but she's really the heart of our family. She knows when we're sad before we even say anything. Mrs. Chen was sobbing now. Patricia patting her shoulder. Maya paused. The auditorium waited. People ask me if I'm sad that my mama died. And yes, I am. I miss her every single day. I miss her voice and her hugs and the way she sang me to sleep. But Mama taught me something important before she left. Maya's voice grew stronger. She taught me that love doesn't die when people die. Love stays. It changes shape, it finds new homes, but it never goes away. And she proved it. Because even after she was gone, her love brought all these people into my life. Her love built my family. Maya looked out at the audience. So if you're listening and you think you're alone, I want you to know something. You're not. There are people out there who will love you. You just have to let them in. You have to be brave enough to trust them. And you have to remember that family isn't about who you're born to. It's about who shows up when you need them. She stepped back from the microphone. Thank you. The auditorium erupted. Parents were crying. Teachers were crying. Other children were looking at Maya with wide, amazed eyes. Marcus was on his feet applauding so hard his hands hurt. Derek couldn't stop the tears streaming down his face. Mrs. Ruth was praising Jesus at the top of her lungs. Mrs. Chen had gone through an entire pack of tissues. And Maya, 8 years old, and one wiser than her years, smiled, and like her mother used to smile, like the sun was shining just for her. After the assembly, they went to Central Park. It had become their tradition visiting the place where Nicole used to bring Maya for ice cream. They walked along the lake just like Derek used to do with Nicole and Maya when she was little. I want to make a boat, Maya announced. Derek reached into his pocket and pulled out a receipt. He had started carrying them specifically for this purpose. Way ahead of you, princess. They sat together on the bench, Maya between her two fathers and folded paper boats. Marcus's was lopsided. Derek's was perfect. Maya's was somewhere in between. This one is for Mama, Maya said, holding up her boat, so she knows we're okay. They walked to the water's edge together. Maya placed her boat on the surface and gave it a gentle push. The wind caught it immediately, sending it gliding across the lake. Look, Maya whispered. It's heading toward the sunshine. Marcus and Derek watched the small paper boat sail away, carrying a message from a daughter to a mother, from the living to the dead. She sees it, Maya said confidently. I know she does. Neither man argued. That evening, back at Marcus's brownstone, they gathered one more time. Mrs. Ruth had made dinner. Patricia had brought wine. Even Detective Maria Santos stopped by bearing news that Crystal Hayes had been sentenced to 32 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole. She'll die in there, Maria said quietly to Marcus. She'll never hurt anyone again. Marcus nodded. He felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction. just a weary relief that the threat was finally permanently gone. Maya appeared at his elbow. "Uncle Marcus, can we talk?" "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" Maya led him to the back porch away from the noise of the celebration. "I've been thinking," she said. "About what?" "About names, about what to call people." Marcus sat down on the porch step. Maya sat beside him. "You've always called me Uncle Marcus," he said. "Is that bothering you?" Maya was quiet for a moment. "It doesn't fit anymore. You're not my uncle. You're more than that." Marcus's heart began to race. "What do you want to call me?" Maya looked up at him with her mother's eyes. "I want to call you Dad. Is that okay? Daddy, Derek is Daddy, and you could be Dad. That way I have both, and they're different, and nobody gets confused." Marcus couldn't speak. "Unless you don't want me to," Maya added quickly. "I know you and Mama were just friends. I know you're not my real dad, but you feel like my dad. You take care of me like a dad. And I love you like a dad. So I thought maybe—" Marcus pulled her into a hug so tight she squeaked. "I would be honored," he managed to say. "Maya, I would be so honored. Really, really. I've loved you like a daughter since the moment I carried you out of that house. I just never thought I had the right to say it." Maya hugged him back fiercely. "You have the right. You earned it. You chose me, Dad. Every single day you chose me." Marcus Wellington, millionaire attorney man, who had won impossible cases and faced down powerful enemies, sat on his back porch and cried like a baby. Maya patted his back. "It's okay, Dad. These are happy tears." Marcus laughed through his sobs. "Yeah, Princess. These are the happiest tears I've ever cried." Inside, Derek was watching through the window. He had heard everything. Patricia appeared beside him. "Are you okay with this?" Derek smiled a real smile, full of peace. "I'm more than okay. Maya has 2 fathers who love her. Nicole's daughter has 2 men who would die for her. That's not a loss. That's a miracle." He raised his glass of sparkling water. "To miracles." Patricia clinked her wine glass against his. "To miracles." 5 years later, Maya Johnson turned 13. She was tall now, growing into her mother's beauty. Her hair was worn in long braids that Mrs. Ruth helped her style every month. Her smile could light up a room. She was also, to no one's surprise, at the top of her class. For her birthday, Marcus and Derek threw her a party at the Brownstone in Harlem, the house that had almost been stolen from her, the house that was now fully hers. They had renovated it over the years, updating the kitchen, fixing the plumbing, repainting the walls. But they had kept Nicole's favorite chair. They had kept her photos on the mantel. They had kept her presence alive in every room. Maya gave the toast that night. 13 years ago, my mama brought me into this world. 7 years ago, she left it. But she's still here. I feel her in this house. I feel her in the people who love me. I feel her every time I look in the mirror and see her eyes looking back. She raised her glass of sparkling cider. "To Mama, for giving me life, for giving me family, for giving me the strength to become whoever I want to be." Everyone drank. Then Derek stood up. "I have an announcement." The room quieted. "I've been sober for 6 years now. I've rebuilt my life. I've earned back the trust of the people I love. But there's one thing I've never done, one thing I've been too afraid to do." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Maya's eyes went wide. Derek wasn't looking at her. He was looking at someone else. A woman who had started attending his AA meetings 2 years ago, a woman who had become his sponsor, then his friend, then something more. Her name was Grace. She was a nurse at Harlem Hospital. She had lost her own husband to addiction and had dedicated her life to helping others find their way out. Derek walked over to her and got down on one knee. "Grace, you saved my life. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You never let me give up, even on the days when giving up felt like the only option. I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Grace was crying. She nodded frantically. "Yes, yes, of course, yes." The room exploded in cheers. Maya ran to Derek and threw her arms around him. "Daddy, you're getting married." Derek hugged her back. "Is that okay with you, Princess?" Maya pulled back and looked at him with Nicole's eyes. "Mama would be so happy for you. She always said you deserved someone who would love you through the hard times. Grace does that. So yes, Daddy, it's more than okay. It's perfect." Derek kissed the top of her head. "You're just like your mother. You know that." "I know," Maya said proudly. "Everyone tells me." The wedding was held 6 months later in the same church where Derek and Nicole had been married. Maya was the maid of honor. Marcus gave Derek away. Mrs. Ruth did the flowers. Mrs. Chen catered the reception. It was beautiful. It was chaotic. It was everything a family celebration should be. At the reception, Marcus found a quiet moment to sit with Nicole's photograph. "She did it, Nikki," he whispered. "Your daughter brought all of us together. She healed wounds that should have been unhealable. She turned strangers into family, just like you knew she would." He touched the frame gently. "I kept my promise. Every day for 7 years, I kept my promise. And I'll keep it for the rest of my life. Your daughter will never be alone. Your daughter will always be loved. Your daughter will grow up to change the world just like you always said." He smiled through his tears. "Rest easy, old friend. We've got it from here." 10 years later, Maya Johnson graduated from Harvard Law School. She was 23 years old, brilliant, determined, and ready to take on the world. She had been recruited by every major firm in the country. She had turned them all down. Instead, she was joining Wellington and Associates, Marcus's firm, her father's firm, but not as just another associate. Marcus was retiring. He was handing the firm over to Maya. "You've earned this," Marcus told her on her graduation day. "You worked harder than anyone. You gave up parties and vacations and normal college experiences to get here. This firm is yours now. Your mother would be so proud." Maya hugged him tight. "This isn't goodbye, is it? You're not going anywhere." Marcus laughed. "I'm 73 years old, Maya. I'm going to sit on a beach somewhere and finally read all those books I've been meaning to read. But I'm always a phone call away. I always will be." Maya looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know." Derek was there too, beaming with pride. Grace stood beside him. Their 5-year-old son, Marcus Jr., balanced on her hip. Maya had a little brother now, a brother she adored. A brother who called her Sissy and followed her everywhere. Mrs. Ruth was there, 83 years old and still going strong. She had finally admitted that she was too old to cook for everyone, but she still came to every family gathering to offer advice and criticism in equal measure. Mrs. Chen had passed away 2 years ago, peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by the family she had adopted as her own. Maya still kept her favorite apron hanging in the kitchen. Patricia had become a judge. Detective Maria Santos had become police commissioner. Carla White, who had testified against Crystal, had served her time, gotten out, and now worked for a nonprofit helping fraud victims recover their stolen assets. And Crystal Hayes had died in prison alone and unmourned 3 years into her sentence. Maya had not attended the funeral, neither had Derek, neither had anyone. Some stories didn't deserve happy endings, but this one did. On Maya's first day as head of Wellington and Associates, she stood in the office that had once been Marcus's and looked out at the New York City skyline. On her desk was a framed photograph, not of her law degree, not of her awards and achievements. It was the photograph Mrs. Ruth had given Marcus 17 years ago, the one of Nicole and Marcus on the brownstone steps, young and laughing and full of hope. Maya touched the frame gently. "I made it, Mama. I made it to where you always knew I'd be, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping people like you helped me, like Dad helped me, like Daddy helped me." She took a deep breath. "I'm going to make you proud. Every single day I'm going to make you proud." Her phone buzzed, a text from Derek. "Your first case just walked in. Scared kid, lost everything, needs help. Sound familiar?" Maya smiled. She grabbed her briefcase and headed for the lobby. A little boy was sitting there, maybe 7 years old, eyes red from crying, clutching a worn stuffed animal like it was the only thing keeping him alive. Maya knelt down in front of him. "Hi there, what's your name?" "James," the boy whispered. "Hi, James, I'm Maya. I heard you're having a really hard time right now." The boy nodded, tears spilling down his cheeks. Maya reached out and took his small hand in hers. "I know what that feels like. When I was your age, I lost everything too. My mama died. My family fell apart. I thought I would never be happy again." James looked up at her with desperate hope. "What happened?" Maya smiled the smile her mother had taught her, the smile that said everything was going to be okay. "Someone showed up. Someone who promised to take care of me. Someone who never broke that promise. And now, James, I'm going to be that person for you." She stood up and held out her hand. "Come on, let's go figure this out together." James took her hand. And Maya Johnson, the little girl who had once been thrown out of her home with nothing but a teddy bear and a broken heart, led another lost child toward the light. Because that's what family does. That's what love does. That's what Nicole Johnson's daughter, raised by 2 fathers in a village of angels, was born to do. Some people are broken by tragedy. Others are forged by it. Maya Johnson was forged. And her story, born in darkness, raised in love, tempered by trial, had finally beautifully come full circle. The little girl who once had nothing now had everything. The child who once begged not to be thrown away now devoted her life to catching others when they fell. The daughter of a dead woman now carried her mother's legacy into a future brighter than any of them had ever imagined. This is how broken things become whole. This is how lost children find their way home. This is the power of one promise kept faithfully through darkness and light, through grief and joy, through all the years of a lifetime. Maya Johnson was proof that love never dies. She was proof that family is chosen, not given. She was proof that even the smallest voice can change the world. And somewhere beyond the veil of death, Nicole Johnson watched her daughter take another lost child by the hand and smiled. Her sunshine had grown up, and the light was brighter than ever.